Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hey, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight it's Hump Day, which means it's that time of the month. Our main man, Merle, is here for the Paranormal Road Trippers, and we got a special guest, Chris Bennett, with us tonight, talking about ghost hauntings, tarot, and everything. We will bring them on momentarily, and Dirty Filth is here as well for another cosmic cartoon. And the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you. We have Race Fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee sharing a silver, SJ with a bronze medal tonight. Hi, Chris 716, Laura Lobbs, Robert Lamont, Rose Demaray is here. Rose will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Brown Dwarf, Cosmic Joe, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. How you doing? Let's Merle it up, people. Night of the Living Merle, right there. Look at that. Rugged Source, Paul Demon, good to see you both. Hi, Dragonfly, Eternity Eternal. He's getting into the Merle action right there. Hi, Carrot in the Woo Train. Sandra Kincaid, how are you? Well, look who's back. Area 51 is here. Area 51 will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Ozzy, nice to see you. Mel WD40. Nice to have you here. Mel's lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want that rigidness. It's uncomfortable. You got to go in smooth. That's why Mel lubes us up. Will, welcome to SOR Chat. Number 26 in your program, starting at center ice tonight from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Janssen. Noble Patrick, nice to see you. Morris Van Buskirk. Damn Dutch names get me every time. Morris the Dutch is here. Yep, Morris the Dutch. Even Merle's Merling himself. Forrest Louie, how are you? S. Ferment, thanks for coming on in. Hi there, Lisa Smith and Necessary Dialogue. Good to have you here. And who's next on our list? Philibacca Nuts, how are you? Purple-haired Pixie Lara, thank you for coming on in. And who else do we have on our list here? We have next, look at Laura. She's Merling enough right there. Algaray over on Twitch says, I get ready for ghost hunting with 700 pull-ups and 5,000 jumping jacks. He's warm for tonight's show. J Truth Seeker, good to see you. And Forrest Louis Merling it up. Babylon Rose, nice to have you back. High Political Foolishness. Alice in Winterland, welcome to SOR Chat. As we continue on with our roll call here. High Operation Shutdown, good to see you. And who's next on our list? Well, it's Dirty Filth and Digger Dog. Nice to have you both here. And coming on down, Kurt M. Nice to have you here, my friend. Good to see you as we are caught up on roll call so far tonight. Michael Fontaine merling it up. That's right there. Look at that. Hardcore merling from Michael right there. Want to remind everybody the Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Nothing's ugly there. We want you to actually go out in public with our clothes rather than use it for garage sales, mowing the lawn, doing the dishes, painting around the house. You don't need to do that because our stuff isn't embarrassing. Blix74, welcome to SOR Chat. How you doing tonight? Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in as it's Paranormal Road Tripper night. Yes, our main man Merle is here for Ghosts of the Great White North. Our special guest is Chris Bennett, psychic, medium, tarot card guy, and he even has a nice goatee going on. It's perfectly coiffed. Perfectly coiffed. We'll get to them momentarily. We are in roll call right now. Helga, how are you? Thank you for coming on in. Mike Rivers, good to see you. And Algaray's already calling for Mel WD-40 to lube us up. So get lubing there, Mel. Get lubing. We want to be sure that this runs smoothly tonight. Just so you know, if there is anything that happens tonight to the show, we are in a major thunder and lightning storm here. So if the show cuts out, well, that sucks to be me. Really sucks to be me. It's that time of the night, everybody. To do me a favor, throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. We're delving deep into the paranormal, supernatural. Can we connect the dots with the spirits on the other side? Merle is here from the Paranormal Road Trippers, along with his good friend, Chris Bennett, psychic medium, intuitive, and a man who has a very nice, tight goatee. We will get to that momentarily. And then in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller coming on in with another few spooky stories. Follow that up. It's a big day in history today. Why? Well, because it's the anniversary of the Hopkinsville goblins. Yeah, 69 years ago, the goblins arrived. We'll talk about that. And then in the UFO report, Tim James is sick. He's been sick the last few days. So I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight. For our audience who is watching over on YouTube or Twitch, we're going to break down a little bit of Lou Elizondo's book. I bought the audiobook version. I'm into chapter 5 so far. And I got to get through it more before I can make an official comment on it. And with my limited amount of time, it's very tough for me to do that. But we're getting through it. And I want to get your thoughts. The good, the bad, the ugly. What are your thoughts on this book, Imminent? All right. Let's get right to it. Paranormal Road Trippers main investigator, soul investigator, is our main man, Merle, who comes in for Ghosts of the Great White North each and every month to talk all things paranormal and supernatural. We love having him here because he's a good storyteller. He's a great interviewer. And in my opinion, one of the best paranormal investigators right across Canada. Merle is somebody who's been doing this for the last couple of decades, searching for answers. And tonight we have a special guest with Merle. Chris Bennett is here. He's also out of British Columbia. He's a tarot card reader, psychic intuitive, and we're going to bring them both on. My main man, Merle, what's happening, my friend? How you doing?
Doing fantastic, Dave. It's great to be back on. I quite enjoy your new intro. Well done. Well done.
Well, thank Lee Strauss for that. He's the guy
Lovely.
who took the image out of my head and put it on paper. You know, it's funny being a radio guy, a former radio guy, and I guess current radio guy because we're on terrestrial radio. I can edit audio like anything. I love editing audio, but you put the video to it and how complicated a lot of these systems are, it's impossible, man. I got a better chance of being clawed by a bear than I do of actually editing a video.
Dude, it's time consuming.
Hugely.
You hear me complain. You hear it.
Now, you just got back from Spokane, Washington on a paranormal adventure. We're going to get to that momentarily, but introduce us to your friend here tonight, Chris Bennett.
This is Chris. I've investigated with him in person twice and over the phone with the Haunted History ladies via Powell River. Was that 1 or 2 years ago, Chris? That was last year. Uh-oh. Your mic's muted.
Oh, I got that. There you go. There you go.
I think it was last year, I believe. So yeah, just coming up to a year anniversary of getting to know each other. So
yeah, and Chris and I were at an investigation last week together at the Minakahada hunting lodge in that's Poco, right? Port Coquitlam.
Yeah, just at Port Coquitlam, and it's a few minute drive away from me. So it was a nice little jaunt, and it's definitely haunted.
Yeah, it was good. We were with the Haunted History ladies, Dave, which we've had on the show multiple times, and we were actually the first investigators to ever investigate that lodge. It was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like, guys, going into a place that's never been investigated? That is such a rarity today, especially in a paranormal populace of the lower mainland of British Columbia.
Well, that's kind of what I strive to do. I don't like to go to places that have been trampled on or over-investigated or even disrespected, because that dilutes the water of spirit communication in my mind. If they've had a bad experience, then they're going to be reluctant to chat to us. But if you're first there, I think a lot of times they're pretty keen to figure out who you are, and that's when you get a lot of your reactions, because they test the waters with how they can communicate with you. That's my opinion. How about you, Chris?
That's dead on. So I felt like peeling back the first layer of paranormal paint, if you will, to take a look at the bones of the building. The first thing that I do is I don't want to know anything about the location. So I like to be in a controlled environment in my mind, and then I scan the building using my mind to kind of see what the layers of history are like. And if you've had an overabundant amount of people who've done investigations or quite a few filming productions there, then it can kind of you have to peel back those layers as well. And also you do have spirits who would get used to those people as well. So the person living there, the caretaker, lived in the basement. He with his family, and they had some really awesome stories about the paranormal activity that they've experienced, and nothing violent or malevolent. It's quite peaceful, tranquil, but definitely some figures that they've seen, and we also experienced a few extrasensory things altogether.
Chris, when you go through a building for the first time and you're somebody who doesn't like to know what is there, what's going on, you want to figure it out for yourself. When you enter a building for the first time, describe what it's like for you as an intuitive.
So first I'll walk the ground. So prior to getting there, even just driving somewhere, that drive to get you somewhere, that ambition is built out of ego essentially. So I have to shed that layer, remove that, and then get back to just being just eyes and ears within. So I close my eyes, I just kind of walk around the grounds just to shed that layer of ego and be a conduit of information. And then anything that comes in my neutralized mind and emotions, that first thought, that song lyric, something, I could sometimes hear voices, I'll kind of take note. So I'll either write it down or just take a mental note or a vocal note. And then as I enter the building, that's when I'll usually just start in one room and work my way into the next room and just feel what I feel. And then it starts with an emotion, and then it starts after that, almost a crescendo with thoughts, and then it starts elevating from there with images. And my strong point is images, so I start seeing scenarios playing out, or people and faces, and I'll start describing what their emotions might be like. Sometimes I'll see figures holding up like the number 6, and I'll see a color associated in my mind with August, and I'll be like, oh, August 6th, and that can be a date that corresponds to something.
When you are new into a building that has never been investigated, and this is a question for both of you, and Chris, we'll start with you on this one. Do the ghosts wonder who the heck you are and why you're there?
Well, sometimes they don't even know they're dead. They're playing out scenarios, or sometimes it's echoes of their livelihood. Everywhere that we experience as humans, we charge emotionally. So sometimes it's just fragments of emotions that we're picking up on. So if it's quite haunted and they are seeing that as a home, and their emotions are quite invested in that property or that place, they can start to take notice of us as we're taking notice of them. That's what bridges the gap. It's a veil for a reason, and it's always thin. So there's no particular season or time and space where that veil is extra thin. All it takes is that curiosity, and our energy connects with them. And then they, in equal turn, can start looking at us as a familiar as well. So they can start to see us in their own space, and we can start to experience them on a very sensitive level. People call my work sensitive for a reason, and it takes removing that layer of ego to do so.
Now, Merle, when you are going to a building for the first time that's never been investigated, do you find that the spirits are more active, or do you find that it takes a while to warm them up to who you are and what you're doing there?
I think it takes a while for them to warm up because they're not used to us. They're not used to what we look like, or basically what we're doing. One thing I've learned over the years that has really helped to get spirit communication quicker or more in it is when you bring the curator or whoever's connected to the property and introduces you as their friend or a guest that has come to speak to them, and basically have them give your intent. And I find that it kind of puts down the guard of a spirit, and they're more open to communicate with you on a positive experience level.
Are they friendly usually?
When
Or
you
are
do
they,
that,
or
when
are they asking questions like who the hell's this Merle guy?
sometimes I find when you have a familiar face, like an owner, business owner, or curator introduce you and walk you through the grounds, they're a lot more friendly versus when you go there at 11 p.m. with the keys and open the door and say, "Show yourself." That's kind of when you get the growls or the scratches or the bad experiences or just silence because they're just gonna wait in the shadows, so to speak, till you leave.
I like how you describe spirit world almost like a bad dog, and you're entering their space, and let them sniff your hand first, and let the owner introduce you. It is very similar to that, and I think a
Yeah,
lot of relationships, both living and alive, living and dead, are based off of formalities and introductions. So you're absolutely right.
and it's the respect level too, because every property I go to is I respect it. I don't want to glamorize it or tell the dramas of the properties. I just want to hear the stories. I want to connect with the ones that once lived there on a personal level, and I'll do what I can to do that because I want the spirit, as silly as it sounds, to have a good experience. So they're familiar with me or you or Dave. So if we come back one day, we can kind of pick up where we left off.
Merle, we have a little friend in our studio here tonight.
El
My
Chapo,
El Guapo has,
Chapo.
yeah, he's a little cutie. My little dog. This is my 4-year-old Chihuahua that I just adopted a few months ago. Here,
Oh, he's very cute.
There he is.
Oh, I
El
love his
Guapo.
coloring.
yeah, he's that brindle color for our radio audience. Yeah, he's a cutie.
You
My
know
my
that
boy just got back from 2 weeks vacation, and I have a studio in my home here, and he decided to bring the puppy in here and check things out. So it's very
coincidentally, Dave, that color is called Merle.
everything's Merle.
No, but it actually is.
Very cool. Very cool. So getting back to these new places to investigate, how hard is it being in the lower mainland of British Columbia, where there's probably more than at least 15 to 20 ghost hunting teams out there? How hard is it to find new locations that nobody has ever gone to, Merle?
That's why I go south of the border, man. If you want my honest opinion, it's hard. It's hard to play nice. It's hard to like share locations because a lot of teams, I'll just say, they don't want to share. And it's kind of nice, like meeting Chris, the haunted history ladies, the unknown paranormal. We've all gotten to know each other very well and trust each other, share locations, experience locations together. Where we'll rent them together, and I'll pay like donations to these locations to have a night of investigations, which is how it should be. It's kind of like a para unity.
Hmm. A symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Chris, for you being the intuitive kind of person, do you get called to a lot of people's homes asking them to maybe calm the spirits down?
Honestly, not enough, but yes, I've had, and there's a danger element to entering somebody's home as well. So I try to make sure that I have an established professional relationship with them prior to advocating for, removal or helping a spirit crossover or investigation. So we do have one of my clients has a pretty haunted location. They didn't want to admit it at first, and I'm going to be asking Merle and the haunted history ladies to join me on it. So that
Sweet.
is it's a connection through a client, and it's a very honored space. So very few people can join me on that, but it's something that skeptics have reached out to me and said, I was sitting in this person's area, and all of a sudden I saw this shadow figure walk across the TV, and both people saw it, and there was an odor attached to it, almost
Wow.
necrotic. So it's not a very nice entity, but it's something that I look forward to.
When somebody calls you for their help, how does that usually go, Chris?
Usually, it starts with a message on my website and a sense of urgency, which I've stated on my website. And if somebody is reaching out with a sense of urgency, again, I need to have that professional rapport built up before I can go to somebody's physical location, because there is a security basis with that as well. So I
Hmm.
need to know them. I need to have a brief consultation with them somewhere in public. I need to have a first date with them before we go to third base,
I can understand that.
Quote of
You
the
know,
night.
it reminds me of a story that Merle had, where he had these people call them over that their house was haunted, and by the time him and his team got there, they had a party set up, thinking that it was going to be a big party watching these guys ghost hunt in their
No.
house.
It's horrible.
Sensitive. It's a sensitive location. It's a sensitive subject that we work with, and
Hmm.
there's a high degree of sensitivity that's required. If I have external noise or too many people going on, I can't enter that space. I can't do what I'm professionally paid to do. So it's not something that I would gladly walk away from it and come back another time.
Hmm.
So when people get a hold of you and they say they need help, now usually it's not the first experience that they've had in their house, Chris. It's usually something that has set them off, where they're saying, and it might be a year, 2 years, it might be 2 weeks, whatever it may be, where something happens that just pushes them over the edge. Talk about the emotion that people go to or go through when they finally get the nerve up to call you.
It's a great question. It's usually a sense of, again, urgency, fear, frustration, violation. It's almost like somebody's in your space, but you can't see them, and they can be kind of tricky to interact with. So there's that element of unknown as well that's driving a lot of these emotions and elevating them. And in return, that spirit can feed off of that. And I've spoken with Merle about, is our energy acts as a conduit that we lend to these entities, these traces of ego left on the other side that then feed off of it, and they can create more interactive possibilities. So there is a sense of fear, frustration, kind of a violation of their privacy as well, because you don't know
I
when
agree.
this entity is watching you. They can be in your most intimate moments, and then you kind of shell up, and you don't necessarily get a good rest because of that. a lot of people think that the unrest comes from, the sheets being ripped off of you in the middle of the night, or somebody sitting at the end of your bed, and it can indeed be that. However, it's more so a pervasiveness. So knowing that somebody's watching you, feeling that. And again, you see that heightened in horror movies where, usually the female in the relationship will say, I'm seeing this, I'm doing that, and they get written off, or, oh, honey, you're not feeling that. Like, but that's how it feels, as a violation of your privacy.
That's what
What
I
kind of-
find. That's what I
Oh,
find, Dave. Like when people they contact me, is they've had something happen in their house where somebody's been touched, a door is slammed, or there's been escalated paranormal activity happening. That they'll say, yeah, we've been hearing knocks or smelling things or hearing voices the last 6 months, but finally something happened. And when people call me and tell me that stuff, I usually get them to document for 2 weeks, and we keep in contact every few days of what's happening. And then we go in and investigate, not just once, but maybe up to 3 times, to see if we can get a consistency of the haunt. Because I want to know what time it happens, where it happens, and what are the people doing when this sort of stuff happens.
do you usually find out what's triggering things?
Sometimes people collect haunted items here, um, or people buy antiques, or somebody in their family died, or they inherited stuff, or they were somewhere where there could have been a haunt, or something like that. And oftentimes they'll bring things home and not know how to deal with it.
Actually, more recently, actually today I was asked to kind of scan somebody from afar. As Merle knows, that's something that I love to do, and just kind of enter that mind space for somebody that may be haunted. And I had somebody reach out asking what may be going on in their location, and it was a young man who had gone down to the morgue for his work, came back, and he's been violently haunted, and it seems to be attached to his son. And so
Wow.
I got some details along with that, that he hadn't disclosed with me, that confirmed that that's indeed where it came from. So it can be going to a morgue and interacting, and there's a sense of curiosity there, and you can get usually a young, tricky kind of ghost, who wants to, play around from the other side.
Here's a question for you, Chris, and David. Like your input on this is,
We
I
got
went
2
and saw
minutes.
2 minutes. Yeah, I'll set it up and we can execute it in the next half hour. But I went and saw I call them my paranormal besties in the Par Northwest in Spokane, and we always have a grand old time when we investigate. But I went early and I stopped at a plethora of antique stores on the way down, and uh, classic me, I bought some creepy old photos. And the first night I was at my friend Shayla and Cheyenne's house, their house was built in 1884. There's been 6 documented deaths in it, like actually. And that first night I was sleeping, they have a giant German Shepherd, and he always sleeps upstairs with the family. And I was sleeping on the main floor, and I had the TV timer on, and obviously the timer went out. And I woke up to something running at me, like running. I could hear it on the old 1800s floor, and it looked like it was trying to beat the crap out of me. And it was running up and down the bed I was on, and he was wearing a suit and a hat. And it was so loud to the point where their dog came downstairs and basically he's leaned on me and just stared at where this thing was the entire night and didn't leave my side.
Like it
Hmm.
was protecting you.
Yeah, 100%. And every night after that, he stayed with me, like right beside the bed. And like my friends are like, he never sleeps down here, like never.
That is interesting.
And then I saw him again upstairs when I went to go shower. So they have one of those old attics, like old school stairs that goes up into the attic. And the guy was standing there staring at me, and I could smell cigar.
Yeah, that's
Well, let's get
from an.
Chris.
I
I'm going to
believe
get
it's
you to
from an
hold on.
antique that you got.
Yes.
Chris, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Our main man Merle, along with Chris Bennett, are here tonight for Ghosts of the Great White North. It's a paranormal night on Spaced Out Radio, and we're going to get to some answers. What was haunting Merle this past weekend? And he was investigating in Spokane, Washington. We'll be right back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are clear.
Is this a commercial break?
Yeah, because this goes out to terrestrial radio too, but YouTube and Twitch and our podcasts can still hear us.
Fantastic.
By the way, Merle, great usage of the word plethora. That was nice.
I thought you'd appreciate that. That's your word.
Release the Merle!
Release them. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Yep.
There he is. He just got home. He got brand new skates yesterday. Getting ready for hockey season.
Nice.
Yeah. He's gonna goon it up this year. Aren't you?
Now he's gonna finesse it up. Light hands, Colby. Light hands.
No, he's got stone hands like his old man.
Stay out of the penalty box. Get those goals.
Don't listen to him. He likes soccer.
But yeah, no, we'll continue that story when we're back on air. It was petrifying, like effing petrifying.
Well, just wait, Earl, because I don't want you to waste anything until we come back.
I won't talk.
Yeah. Having fun, Chris?
Yeah, I love it. This is like honestly a very awesome radio show, and your voice is incredible. You remind me of Art Bell a little bit.
Oh, that's way too kind. That's way too
kind. Head.
Yeah. I've had enough, Chris. I don't need you to explode my ego now.
Ego biscuits for everybody. Merle, you look great. Dave, thank you. Dirty filth. I can't believe how much you've drawn in half an hour.
Yeah, look at that.
Everyone
that is incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it just sort of happens.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's the dirty one. Wait till the next half hour when he's like done, and you're going to be like, "What the hell happened there? How did that happen so quick?"
I have all my filth.
It's secret
protected.
You have all your art. What?
I have some prints from Filth, and they're all like framed and protected. They're
actually the originals, Merle.
Yeah, got to keep them protected behind that glass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really like this a lot. Yeah, fantastic.
Chris, I'd love to see you actually work with my boy who's standing right beside me here, because he actually gets telepathic messages from Bigfoot.
Oh, cool.
So when we're out in the forest, they communicate with him through mind speak.
I love that. Well, I believe they would communicate with a lot of children. I believe they're an interdimensional being that is related somehow to aliens, is what I get the vibe of. So it would be
Dave's jive.
Yeah, it's telepathy is something that I believe would be within their range, and children are fantastic at picking up on it. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. 1 second here. We got about 2 minutes, guys.
What's your son's name?
Colby.
That's a good hockey player name.
Yeah. He's a pretty good kid. He gets good grades. He likes his hockey. I don't know how the heck he became a Carolina Hurricanes fan, though. I still can't understand that one.
Grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I was a hockey fan, it would probably be the Bruins, because they just give her.
Oh yeah. Merle, that's sensitive to Merle there.
2011.
2011 sensitive.
I like Brad Marchand.
I like Brad Marchand too.
Me too.
Any of them are.
New team.
Dave's head takes most of the camera, but he's better than Hurt. Oh my God. Thanks, S. Vermet. Appreciate that. I'll send you some hair for good luck. All right. Paisley Parker, nice to have you here.
I put a shark in here for you, Dave.
I appreciate that. Yeah, did you see those videos I put on Facebook? Right, day after day. One, there was a great white shark swimming upriver somewhere. And then in Australia, there was a great white shark swimming in a lake where people like swim.
Telling you, Dave, they're coming for you.
Don't go in the water, people. Don't go in the water. Hey, we got 15 seconds left. Reminder, the super chat is open. All right. It's a good way to support what we do on this show. Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that bell because we are here 7 days a week. Here we go. All right, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. It's always a pleasure to have you here, tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. We're on every major podcast network as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Ghost of the Great White North continues on here on the big show. We got our main man, Merle, from the Paranormal Road Trippers out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Also out of beautiful BC, psychic, medium, intuitive, tarot card reader, Chris Bennett. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show. Appreciate your time, Merle and
Thanks,
Chris.
Dave.
All right,
Thanks, Dave.
Merle, re-ask your question there, or just give us a recap of the story. You're in Spokane. You go to bed, and this shadow-like being wearing a suit
And hat.
and hat chases down after you.
He does. I was laying in bed, just minding my business, trying to sleep. I guess I was sleeping, but I woke up to the sound of it running towards me. And then I could see it when I opened my eyes. I could see the guy running towards me, and then it looked like he was trying to pummel me, like hit me. And then he was running up and down, like my body length, up and down the bed, and continued to try and pummel me. And then Kingston, the German Shepherd, came from upstairs and then down to the main floor where I was, and he sat and leaned on me and made himself in between me and whatever the heck was trying to beat me up at 3:30 a.m. And then, funny enough, that next morning I went to go get ready to go out, like, shower and all that stuff. And I go upstairs and I immediately smell a cigar. And down their long hallway, I could see this guy standing there staring at me in the same clothing. And I'm like, okay, this isn't cool. And I can still feel him around me, but not as intense as when I was there.
So, Chris, you think that Merle picked up this spirit after buying an antique on his way there?
Yeah, I do. And even as you're talking about it, I get a bit of a headache, but I see a bit of it's almost like a square object. I want to say brass. My mind goes immediately to brass. And there's a wood element to it as well. So that's something that I feel like you picked up from an antique shop. It's in the basement somewhere because I can see you perusing all sorts of different things. And this person was attached to it. I get the letter E for that person.
I picked this up.
That's exactly what I envisioned. And is that a woman in the picture?
Yeah, it's a female.
Yeah, I've seen her around you. I saw her around you at the last investigation that we did. But as you're telling me this whole side of my brain is just crushed right now. So it feels like I'm in a vice grip.
Wow.
That's somebody that is that's unusual. It's not a usual thing that happens during my reading. So it tells me that this person would be trying to either frighten you or prey off of your consciousness. And the more attention that you give him that is negative, the more activity that you're going to see. So I feel like he's still within your space, but you are well protected. And when a dog runs to you like that, they're aware of energetic spheres around each living being, and they add to it. So they amplify your own energy. and they can also see things that we can't. So
And then I bought this one. This guy was creepy.
Well,
that's
Merle,
not
you got to explain it for our radio audience.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So we got the radio guys out there. So I bought another 1890s photo, and it's this man in a kind of a bowler hat, and he's wearing an 1800s style long jacket with fur lining and a suit underneath, and he has just a creepy, angry expression, which I guess they did when they took photos, with a kind of a handlebar mustache.
And
Now,
that's not.
is there writing on the back? Sorry to cut you off there, Dave.
No, please go ahead.
There is, but it's just saying where the photo was done in Scandia, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. But
What were you going to say, Dave?
Merle, what's your addiction to old classic photos?
like the ones behind me. I don't know. I love the era. I love everything about it. I have probably 11 of those type of photos up throughout my place.
You gotta explain it for radio, buddy.
I know. So those oval photos, the 18.5 inch to 22.5 inch old, like you see them in all the haunted houses, but these ones are authentic of Victorian era people. These ones are from the 1870s, 1880s. Black and white.
So weird. Such a weird addiction you have.
I also got some, post-mortem tin photos. Yeah. Welcome to my macabre manor.
Chris, are you able to pick up haunted objects? So when you walk into a place right off the bat, never mind an antique store, because I think pretty much if you have any sort of intuition, light or heavy, that you could pick something up, while you're there saying, wow, this feels odd or this feels creepy. But when you go into someone's home or someone's place of business, can you pick out haunted objects? Like, do they resonate quickly with you?
Oh, I can spot the asshole a mile away, and I can also spot the gifted people as well. So both living and dead, if I were to walk into a space, I could tell you a number of things, even without anyone being there, especially if nobody's there. And then that gives you more validation to the paranormal ability that it is that I'm viewing things through. I love thrift store shopping as well, which is a common ground with Merle. I do not collect antiques, though, because that is a dark path for a gay man, and it would be an endless one. So haunted things I try not to interact with or touch, because it can indeed invite things into your space, into your etheric body as well. So you're interacting with it and you have a sense of curiosity, and it can bring it right up back into your living room. So that's a strong no thank you for me. Merle has actually asked me to place my hands on the Ouija board that he collected that is very impressive historically, but I have no intention of touching a live wire because it's just not. There's layers and layers and layers to everything that holds history, and it's charged with emotion. And when there's a sense of fear, curiosity, anger, frustration, and then that tool is used for communication specifically with the other side, that really opened a doorway in my own psyche. So I'm very delicate with that the more that I go further into this work.
How do you know when you're picking something up? What happens to you?
I know because there's no emotional attachment to it for me. So, and that's something that your viewers can take home as well, is if there's no emotional attachment to it, like sometimes when we get into the car, we're loading stuff in, sometimes our child, dog, whatever, and you have this horrific image of, oh, what if there's a car accident? I should put them on the other side, or I don't think I can go out today. There's an emotion attached to that. That's fear. It's coming from a place of anxiety. That's not a psychic, intuitive gift or vision that you're receiving. There's no emotional attachment to it. So if you've neutralized your mind, you've neutralized your emotions, which takes a bit of work, and it gets easier the more often you do it. It's meditating consistently, which is going to the gym for your subconscious, essentially, and essentially tethering a rope to your subconscious, to your waking mind, so that way you have a greater sense of what you're seeing and you can make sense of it all. So I'll see usually a letter for a first name. I don't always get the first name. It's usually a sharp letter. And then from there, I'll see an image of somebody that would have that name to me that I would know, or I'll hear a voice or lyrics, and that is something that very much relates to that object or that space.
Very cool. Very cool. And does it happen instantaneously for you, or do you have to, go and seek it out?
Instantaneously. It's something that if I'm in that state of mind, which is a very dedicated state of mind, a lot of people tend to think that psychic abilities are on tap like a cheap beer. This is top shelf stuff, and it takes a dedicated frame of mind and emotional state as well. So if I've had a turbulent day, or if I'm human as well, I'm going about this world the same as anyone else, and if I've had something that has thrown me off, I have to completely make space to do that. So it's something that's instantaneously, that's the first thought, the first impression that you receive is always accurate. If you have to second guess it, it's not correct, and
Hmm.
your ego is wanting to make sense of it, and that's not how that works. So usually it's a high speed, quick menagerie of things in a scenario that plays out very, very quickly, and then I have to go through and see what I remember from that, and then make sense of it all.
Merle, go ahead.
I just want to ask one more question about the item that I had purchased. Do you think that it's attached to me or like the item itself? And why would
I
it be
think it's
trying
a
to scare me?
I think it's attached to you, and I think you've created a sense of curiosity about it. So you want that experience, you crave that sense of excitement, and the picture that you've painted from that scenario was very akin to the creature from the Haunted Mansion of the top hat and somebody running at you in the dark of the night trying to get you, and it's very classic for a shadow figure to take on a scarier silhouette. So it may not even be the entity from that photograph, but I
Hmm.
get the sense that they're attached to that first one that you showed me with the lady who I've seen around you before, funny enough.
Hmm.
So I think they're trying to interact with you, spook you a little bit to get more of your energy so that they can make themselves known. I don't necessarily think that they could do any tangible harm to you, but I
Hmm.
think you may get a few more bumps in the night.
I'm bringing out the sage. So,
No kidding. No kidding. Chris, you've had a number of encounters over the years with spirit. Is there one that you really have standing out for you? Is there one that's hit you that you could share
Yeah,
with us?
absolutely. When I was 16, 17, actually, when I was 15, I met a psychic on the internet when I was first exploring the paranormal world. And I connected with this fantastic, very truly gifted psychic medium who started his professional career at the age of 14.
hmm.
And it's inherited. And he's like, "Oh, you're going to be a medium just like me." I'm like, "Oh, it's too bizarre." But as we were chatting and unraveling layers and common interests, we play psychic games, send each other messages constantly every day for 2 years. And so when I turned 17, I was like, I'm going to fly from Calgary to Toronto to go see this person. Such a unique bond. And as soon as I landed, and I hadn't told my parents that I was doing this. I was a really adventurous, rebellious teenager, and he's like, "You came here for a reason, and I think we're both going to see something that will show you a tangible spirit." And that was the first thing he said. Instead of hello, I was like, "Oh, okay, wow." Um, so he had a client who had a disturbance in their home, who sought his help. This person had never met him before. And up until then, I was super skeptical of all the information that we were both receiving, where it was coming from, the accuracy to it. I was taking note of everything. And at the back of my mind, I'm like, he's making this stuff up. I'm making this stuff up. How? There's no way. And then when we went to this person's house, what got them to call my friend was they had just moved in. It's in rural Ontario in Oakville, and they had a newborn baby, and they'd experienced voices on the baby monitors, strange smells in the house that just came and went as quickly as they came in, and what got them to call him was the mom had put the baby in a car seat in the kitchen and went to run and get something from another room and heard the dog barking and came out, and the baby was no longer in the kitchen. It was in the living room, and the dog was looking around, barking at the air.
Wow.
And there was a smell of sulfur in there. She could smell burning matches, and she was like, "What? That's it. I'm done. Like I don't. I need to get somebody in here." So that lined up with my trip, and we went to her house. And I remember the dad leaving, and he was clearly disturbed, which was strange for me to look as a teenager to look up at a grown man, a homeowner, and be like, "Oh, he's really spooked." Okay, well, still skeptic. And as we sat down, I didn't feel anything immediately in this house. Didn't seem haunted, you know. And we held a seance, and that seance forever changed my perspective on everything to do with life and death. So it started with us holding hands in the dark, and my psychic friend Bro Perkins, based out of Toronto, um, really tuning in and getting us to align our breath and align our emotions. He neutralized his emotions. We all just kind of felt at ease. And it started with a pervasive cold, dense cold feeling at our feet, rising all the way up, and followed by a scent, a very necrotic, rough scent. And all of a sudden, it made sense of all those paranormal shows I've seen where people are like, "Oh, I can't breathe. The air's really thick." And that skeptic in me was like, "Yeah, right. Like, that doesn't make any sense." But when you experience it, it's almost like somebody shoved rotten something up your nose, and it's really difficult to get a breath in because it's
Oh yeah.
dense air. Um, it's hard to describe until you experience it. And then from there, we started. This was actually something I look forward to experiencing again with Merle down the road. Is I started hearing pops, like little tiny crackles. And as I looked at the person across from me, pitch black everything except for a candle in the center of six people holding hands, tiny little blue sparks about 1 inch were popping off of people's shoulders randomly. And
Wow.
that's when I realized when the hair in the back of your head stands up, it's not because you're scared, it's an electrical charge in the air.
Hmm.
That really flipped the switch in my mind. Um, and from there, he was conversing with somebody who we couldn't see. His name was Isaac, and I was still a skeptic. I'm like, sure, where are you getting this information? You know, still skeptic at even experiencing all this. And that's when this really dark shadow appeared behind the people in front of me. My eyes had adjusted to the dark, and a figure, started moving from the adjacent room over in front of them and coming around the circle. And I could see them. They almost moved like vapor, not like they were taking steps. And their shoulders came to form, their head came to form, a brimmed hat, and not a top hat, and kind of moved around. And when it was behind me, it got extra cold, and I just tensed up. I'm like, "Whoa, this is really intense." And as it came around again, its eyes sunk in, so it was almost even darker. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. And I'm looking at this thing in the where eyes would have been, and my friend was conversing with his spirit guides at that point, and I was a full believer that he was conversing with every single name that he had been dropping. And he started asking it to cross over. There was no point in that because this person was very emotionally attached to the space, and it's grown jealous of watching the living, grown jealous of watching a newborn baby experience life when he no longer could. And so was doing
Dang.
everything to create fear and tarnish their sense of livelihood. So he banished it completely. And at the end of it, it started with almost a feeling of anticipation in our stomachs, like Christmas morning when you're a little kid, warm in the pit of everyone's stomachs. And then it smelled like fresh cut either jasmine or roses, something that all of us imagined as a white floral scent.
Mm.
My mind goes to jasmine, and whenever I smell that, it's this beautiful fragrance that could not have been brought out otherwise. And also something I skipped over was the knocks on the wall were how it communicated. So during a seance, I will always ask every entity to knock on the wall and use our energy to communicate with us in that way. So, yes, one yes, a knock for no, two knocks for yes, and the dog in that house ran under the table at the first knock.
Wow.
You could hear the pictures behind the wall just shuddering a little bit, which you don't know where that sound's coming from, and you want to take a look behind you, but that would break the connection. So at the end, everything smelled really beautiful. We had a really lovely, fresh memory to cleanse the space with. And my friend took us to the kitchen and said, "This is what happens when an entity doesn't listen to us," and shut off all the lights again. And we all looked outside, and you could see a very, very faint blue object, almost like when somebody takes a camera flash in your face and you have
Mm.
that after image. When you blink again, you can see it more so. And it was off the property line, back and forth slowly between the trees.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's an amazing feeling when you watch a spirit all of a sudden kind of give up and fade off into the distance, isn't it?
Unreal. Yeah.
Dang.
So
Yeah.
at the recent location that we went to, Merle, Minikata Lodge, which I'm sure everyone's Googling at this point, at the end of everything, after we ended our seance, there was a smell of roses. Were you there for that?
Oh, it was pungent, like strong.
Yeah, it was probably very few people were there because everyone had said goodbye, and all of a sudden, the few people that were there were like, "Whoa!" And I was immediately drawn up to the room where I could hear a lady and I could picture her living out her life there. And I was like, "Whoa, it's the lady of the house." I saw the letter A, and that coincided with the person's name according to the caretaker,
It did, yeah.
Alwyn. I went to Anna. I was like, "It's Anna and Alwyn." But everyone smelled it. And strangely enough, yesterday when I was at a different location, not haunted, um, somebody said, "Oh, you smell like fresh roses. Is that you?" And I'm like, "What is she following me?"
Dang. Yeah, I'd rather be followed by that than whatever is around me.
We can trade off.
Fair. Okay. Good deal. But no, that's an intense story. That's a wild ride for like your first experience like that, going out to see that, and that's a lot to take in. And I would understand why, like, the entire time you'd be skeptical, like, nah, this until the end. That was kind of like my first investigative experience was like that, because you're experiencing all this stuff that you only hear about or movies sensationalize, but it's in front of you and happening, and there's nothing like it. I think that's another reason why we do this.
Exactly.
Guys, we only got about 90 seconds before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Our main man, Merle and Chris Bennett, are here for Ghosts of the Great White North as we are talking about spirits and communication. I have to ask, whatever happened to the baby?
Oh, the baby, they ended up living. But we actually didn't, usually with clients of the psychic profession, you don't end up hearing a whole lot about their livelihood after. They come to you with a sense of clearing or urgency, and then afterwards their lives are neutralized and they move on.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So there was no effect from like the parents or anything like that, because that would scare the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unsure because I was just a guest at that experience, and a long distance one at that. So it's not like I kept in. And this was way before the internet has gotten to what it is. There's no social media. Everyone had a dial-up phone. Like,
Oh, wow. Wow. Now, I remember when my son was born, we actually heard a female voice chatting with him. He was only a couple months old.
Wow.
And we heard a female voice chatting with him while he was sleeping. And it was, "You're such a beautiful little boy. You're a good little boy." And it was almost like a guardian. That was
that's his grandma.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird when that happened. So, gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break at the top of the hour. Merle is here for Ghosts of the Great White North. We have Chris Bennett here, psychic intuitive, and we are going to come on back with more ghost stories. And when we return, we're going to find out from Chris what it's like to be in a seance. I need to know what that's like. That's something I've always wanted to do. Haven't done it yet. This is Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back, everybody. Sit tight.
This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. We got about 6 minutes. And Dirty Filth, we're going to turn this bad boy over to you. You can show us what you got for us.
Okay.
Your microphone on.
It's on, Dave. I promise. Okay, so just doing the last couple drawings for my calendar for next year. And so for June, I decided to do the USS Theodore Roosevelt incident where they seen the cubes encased in a sphere. That's what they said. And also I decided to throw in a shark for Dave because he's terrified of sharks. And also the, excuse me, my octopus guy that I was put in there. Oh, excuse me.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Got a whole bunch of other ones over here. This is a good one. I did this the other day for March.
I love it.
Insane.
I love
Okay.
your Sasquatch.
He's kind of upset because Alan's eating all the chocolate bars on him.
It reminds me of the alien from American Dad.
Roger.
Roger, yeah.
Merle, do you got any of those ghost ones handy? I used to show them to people, but I don't. They're all at
One of
Merle's
you-
house now.
One of yours. I have one very handy. Let me see.
Here, let me.
I have
This is
one.
a Sasquatch selling an alien. Hold on a second, Merle. Let me put you. Oh God, I'm not gonna. Crap. Oh yeah, that one, the minor ghosts. You gotta get a frame for those. Go to the dollar store.
The other ones are
These are
framed. That
awesome.
was the last one that doesn't have a frame, and it's sitting here because I don't want it to get wrecked. The other ones are safe.
So the story behind this one is DAS Auto is Dogman and Sasquatch Auto. And Dogman is the mechanic. So Sasquatch is saying, hey, we got a decent scratch and dent available. And so Dogman's telling Carl the alien, yeah, I can work those claw marks out, no problem. Plus the Mothman on the roof.
I love it.
They can never have enough Mothman. Mothman's the best. And then we got John Cena versus Sasquatch.
I love that one.
That's amazing.
And then, so you're Canadian. This is how Saskatoon berry pies disappear.
That's how
Sasquatch
that's
eats
legit,
them.
actually, yeah.
And then, of course, playoff Sasquatch. Can't forget about him. Yeah, there's a
Are you based in
plethora of them.
Saskatoon?
No, I live in Edmonton.
Oh, okay.
That's why he's got the orange helmet. Yes.
All the
Actually, you
the
know,
hockey.
you know what? Actually, I should do a Sasquatch with that comes from Saskatchewan, and he wears a watermelon on his head, and nobody outside of Canada would understand it.
I don't even understand it. I'm in Canada.
Oh, well, okay. Well, everybody that gets to listen now gets the joke. But the Rough Riders wear watermelons on their head at football games.
Oh,
The fans. I have no idea where it comes from, but they do that.
I think you should do one of a werewolf during a full moon, sneaking up behind two people, and they'll be like, werewolves come out during the full moon, and the werewolf saying, I'm gay.
Oh, that's awesome. Hold on, I gotta get my book.
That's good.
One second here, everybody. That's you're. It's okay if I draw that. You're not gonna. I'll give you credit for it. Do you have like some kind of social media I can share?
at the Tarot Medium.
Okay, deal. I guess I can just get it from Merle.
Yeah, werewolf coming out during full moon, but make it look like he's about to eat them, like really vicious, and then he'll be like, "I'm gay." Put a pink bow on him or something. You know?
Beauty. You know what? I'll leave it. Maybe I'll mail you a copy of it.
That's a good one.
Oh my god, I would frame that.
Looks good.
And his pinky must be hanging out the side
Yeah,
for extra fabulousness.
exactly.
Awesome. I got this backlog of cartoons. It's like calling sick for a couple days and just draw cartoons all night.
Just do it professionally. Go for it.
Yeah, I'll take your offer on that. I'm going to do it. Okay, I'll be quiet, Dave. Swearing time's over. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, Dirty Filth. Thank you, buddy. That's Dirty Filth and his great piece of art.
I love him.
Oh, he's amazing.
Big
He
Phil.
is absolutely amazing. All right. Not enough Merling in the chat room tonight. Need some more Merling in there. And the super chat is open. We're still waiting for our first super chat tonight. And don't forget, we say thank you to everybody who's new to our subscribership. Don't forget, if you haven't tuned in yet and hit subscribe, ring that bell, we'd really appreciate it. Of course, and you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Because we don't want you looking bad in public. That's just not the way it is. We got about 5 seconds here, guys. All right, here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate broadcasting to you live all around the continent of North America. Thank you for tuning us on in. Hey, I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mabel. Mabel is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Ghost of the Great White North continues on with our main man, Merle, from the Paranormal Road Trippers, based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, also out of the lower mainland of British Columbia. We have our special guest tonight. Chris Bennett is here hanging out with us, talking all things weird and strange. And Chris, we're going to kick things off for you because one of the topics that you're into, I've never done it. I've always wanted to do it, and that is be a part of a seance. Now, I have communicated with lots of ghosts, a plethora of ghosts over the years, same as Merle, him more than me, way more than me. But I've never sat around and actually conjured up a spirit through a seance. Take us through what a seance is first.
So a seance is a conduit, essentially. So what we're doing is aligning our thoughts and emotional state, neutralizing it completely. And what happens is when we physically connect hands, we're creating essentially a battery and a belief system of unifying our mind, hoping to create a connection that is much greater than just one person. So anytime I've seen one of those paranormal shows where there's two bros like in a haunted location and they light a candle and they hope for the best would be if they held hands and got over that whatever that is, and they would essentially unify their minds. And when they both believe in something at the same time and neutralize their emotions and clear everything out, you would be amazed at what happens. It elevates your experience. So I would hope to do way more seances going forward. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it creates the best possible opportunity for you to have an interactive experience with the spirit world. You do have to be careful with it.
How many people take part?
Anyone more than two, essentially. It's essentially a form of prayer when you unify your mind with somebody else that's present. And if you light a candle, that also acts as an amplifier. Any light source essentially creates a portal, from what I've experienced, and it can draw them up and banish them just as easily. So it's almost like picking up the phone receiver when you light a candle and have that intention of asking somebody to come forward.
Wow. And what is usually accomplished with this? Why would we do it?
For a greater proof of life beyond death, essentially. My life purpose is to show people that life exists beyond the end of what we consider the end. Two things are very certain to me through this profession. One, there's no such thing as random, and two, death is an illusion, a necessary one that we have to go through. So my goal with what I do is to show people that there is life beyond death, and it's just an illusion.
How do you communicate with them at that point?
Uh, Hopefully physically, so with my voice, so that way everyone can hear what I'm thinking. I do usually communicate through thought forms on a day-to-day basis through my work. However, during a seance, I speak out loud so everyone can hear me. It's completely unfiltered. Whatever it is I'm seeing in response to what I'm saying physically, I respond to. So sometimes it seems like I'm talking to people who are there. And then the goal is to get a physical, tangible result. Either a change, all five would be great, a change in temperature, a scent, knocking on the walls, and then also thought forms coming through, different kind of emotional state, a change in your perception, essentially, that everyone can experience all together.
Merle, have you ever taken part in a seance?
Well, I've done two with Chris. And yeah, I have. I've done a handful of them when I was younger. I did one and it scared me, so I kind of shied away from it for a while. We did the hand holding things, and it was all dudes. And we uh, we had three candles lit, and we were asking whatever to come through. And I knew that our friend was dabbling with darker occulty stuff. We all knew. We just didn't call him out yet. And he had gotten darker, he got a lot more depressed, and he was the one pushing to do the seance with us. And so we did. And we're calling out and trying to talk to whomever was there. This was circa 1998, 1999, so we don't have any gear. And we hear three loud knocks on his basement door. No one was home, nobody. And the door swung open, and it looked like somebody took their hand and ran it all over his like curtains, like running by curtains and moving all the curtains. And then we felt a gust of wind come to the candles, and one of the candles busted. And then the other two went out. I was like, I'm done. And after that, he'd gotten really depressed, started to get into harder drugs than the plant-based ones, and he had to seek help. And he got help and he got better, but he was battling demons, no pun intended. And
Literally.
but he'd started doing black magic on his own by himself, and I think he was trying to do something with us there as, like Chris said, a battery. And it backfired and it all went on to him. And that was the last time I did one until last year at the Overland Mansion with Chris. So I actually observed them do it because I was a little hesitant based on my experiences. So I did film it. I have it all on film. So
Why would we want to do a seance? Like, what would be the purpose of wanting to do this? I've done a lot in the paranormal, and I'm saying this as somebody who would definitely love to do it, but why would I want to do this?
Evidence. I'm very evidence-based in my work. I'm very scientific, and that would give you and everyone else tangible proof within a controlled environment,
Yep.
that there is somebody communicating with you, either through knocks on the door, a gust of wind that may or may not smell like farts or roses, and then also a change in temperature. These are all tangible things. And then if you can physically see the being, or entity, that's something that changes somebody's mind the same way that I went through that with my friend. So that completely 180'd and kiboshed any kind of skepticism. So anytime I've met someone that says, "Yeah, this is the only life you get. When you're dead, you're dead." No, I will never try to change somebody's opinion, but through my work and through doing a séance, if it's successful, that will show somebody tangible evidence.
What kind of evidence are you looking for?
What kind of evidence do you want?
I view it as a seance it's another tool to the belt of paranormal investigation. If you're looking for knocks, if you're looking for reactions, if you're rolling audio or video, there's a high probability you're gonna get an EVP, like
Hmm.
a voice coming through. And it's also a form, like Chris said, it's a conduit, and you might get communication well through somebody, like through like Chris, because he knows how to do that. Have a spirit talk through him, who you've kind of charged up to come to the circle, so to speak.
Or with the Overland Mansion, we had that one lady's voice
Mhm.
from the adjacent room, from behind the circle that we had created, and we had the candle. We were up in an attic in a haunted mansion. The doorbell was going off. There's knocks on the wall,
Yep.
and there was a female voice answering our questions that everyone could hear.
So as we go through a seance, how long do they last?
Oh, anywhere from, I think the shortest one would be 15 minutes because it takes that long to really allow your anxiety to quell, to allow everyone to just firmly plant their feet on the ground because there's a sense of excitement in the results. And you don't always get those results, and so you have to let go of those expectations. And so to get everyone in a group completely neutralized is more than just a few deep breaths, and to reduce their anxiety and to command tranquility as well of mind. That's something that takes time. And then once you get past that introductory stage, that's when you can entertain asking questions, and everyone can start to feel a heightened degree of sensitivity, if you will, and respond equally. So we'll check in with each other as it goes through, but usually about 15 minutes to an hour.
Have you had a seance go wrong?
No, because I'm a very powerful entity who takes control of my situation, and I have a lot of very powerful forces working with me that are from the divine frequency, if you will. And there's a lot of skeptics out there, rightfully so. Stay skeptical until you've been proven otherwise. But it's something that I communicate with regularly, so there's no way that I could entertain that. I'm of a very high frequency.
Hmm.
Is there a lot of paranormal activity that happens around when you finally make that connection?
There can be, absolutely. Uh, Sometimes it's just what I do to a day-to-day basis of hearing voices and responding to that, and it's not something that everyone can hear, unfortunately. But the goal is to create evidence for everyone involved, because that's what they came there for. That's what they're lending their energy to, is to hear that response, to hear somebody knocking in response to yes or no questions, hearing a voice that isn't attached to a body, essentially seeing a shadow figure. That's all stuff that you can take home. And then if Merle's there, hopefully catching it all on video.
When you say evidence, define what you mean by that.
Well, essentially footage, something that will change somebody's perspective on something that they may have fear around. That's really a driving force for my work, is to diminish fear and replace that with either a sense of curiosity or neutralize fear, essentially. So that's something that they can either get through a tangible experience that then they can either change their perspective on. That's all it is. It's an echo effect, because then they start telling their friends about that. It really diminishes fear and creates a healthy conversation around death. And then, secondly, through EVPs, through camera, through infrared, and through interactions with everything that we set up, all the equipment.
What kind of equipment do you take during a seance?
I just bring me, and I bring a candle, and I bring a crystal ball, because that's something that if you put in the center of a group, everyone's wondering where to fixate their eyes to adjust to the darkness. So it's a lot less about gazing into the future, and it's more about allowing your eyes to adjust the dark, and it's somewhere that everyone can focus their eyes on and focus their intent, and that can essentially, you see the candle flickering in it, and images will start taking form in your mind's eye. So it's kind of like lulling your mind into a hypnotic state. So those are the only things that I bring with me. I also bring a bit of salt, just to neutralize the space if there is any kind of darker entities that are not taking very well to my own saltiness. And then I also bring a banishing ritual knife with me.
Tell Dave about the because Dave just brought up what kind of gear equipment do you use? You liked actually the bell. You had experiences with the dead bell.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That's probably my favorite tool that you have. I love all of Merle's toys, essentially. Um, so he's got this dead bell, and a very awesome friend that I've met at these investigations. Her name's Ashley, and we've taken to each other. And she had this bell from Merle and went up to a room on her own, and with her skeptical husband, and started just asking questions. She has a healthy curiosity, and she was interacting with somebody in their room essentially, and this bell started dinging. It was, yeah, one for yes, two for no, responding to questions in a very black and white way, and she was just open dialogue with somebody that couldn't she couldn't see and her husband couldn't see. And so I sat there with them and I just went through my mind and just saw all the layers of history in that room and who that perhaps belonged to and the person that she may have been interacting with. And then she kind of brought that along with her, and we just went from room to room. And sometimes she'd be sitting there, and it was kind of comical at points because she'd be sitting there just like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then she'd be like, what do you think of that? And the bell would just ding. And she's like, oh, like she started having fun with it. And so at the end of the seance, when we'd done about a half an hour, and it wasn't really the tangible evidence that I had wished to deliver. Not that I'm in control of that, I'm merely a conduit. But somebody said, all right, maybe you'd like to answer us through the bell. And the bell just went off. Like it was like ding, ding, ding. It hadn't dinged not once through the seance, nothing. And it like a full half an hour, and it just all of a sudden just like went off, like almost like a clapping. And I was like, what?
That was cool. That was neat to
I have
watch.
one of those bells. I have
Oh,
one
I
of
love
those
it.
ones. It has never gone off.
Really?
Not once.
Huh.
Not once.
We had it set on low too because it's my first time interacting with a new tool, and if you put it on high sensitivity or something, it just kind of was dinging once in a while. So we just cranked it all the way to low, and that was probably my favorite tool.
It's kind of neat to watch, Dave. You should try it on your tours. Like
Gotta
that.
try it again. I gotta fix mine. All my new gear is almost like the bell broke, my laser grid broke.
Dear Lord.
It's all in the charging areas. They've popped off. I'm like,
The worst.
really? You spend all that money on ghost gear, and it's built like cheap Lego, like no name brand Lego. You
Or
can't.
learn to take things apart.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. We got 6 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. It's Ghosts of the Great White North with Merle and Chris Bennett tonight. Chris, with the seance, where do you do them? Can you do them anywhere?
You can do them absolutely anywhere, yeah. Anywhere that more than two people can gather.
Okay, take me through how to start one. For people who are listening there, how do we start our own seance?
First, you'd have to select who would be the communicator. So somebody who would be innately a little bit more sensitive, somebody who is quite tranquil in nature, not emotionally volatile, or who has gone through anything that would make them emotionally volatile. Somebody who has a good visual imagination, because something else I've learned through this profession is not everyone can visualize things in ways that some people can. And then not everyone is able to entertain hearing song lyrics or voices. Some people don't have that ability. So if you have someone in your group that has that, that in itself is psychically inclined. So they may be more open to communication than someone else in your group. And that's the person to champion for your communicator. And then what you want to do is set out your intention with anything that you do in life and say, we're looking to communicate with beneficial celestial beings on the other side, or we're looking to communicate with only beneficial spirits here who would like to communicate with us, with knocks on the wall. By showing yourself, we'd like to unravel the layers of this history. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please. Be cordial, be formal, establish your intent. That's when you hold hands and start breathing in unison. Get your communicator to do that. Start directing, okay, we're going to take 10 dedicated breaths in and out together, neutralize everything, feet firmly planted on the ground, ground yourself. And then from there, you can start to explore within your own psyche. You can start to ask more open-ended questions, yes or no questions at that point with dedicated, we'd like 1 knock on the wall for yes, 2 knocks for no, are you with us? And from there, you have to be patient. That's the other thing with our work is patience. Sitting in a dark place, a dark, unfamiliar place, and being just waiting for a response.
Oh my. Oh my. I
Typical
definitely
Friday
will try.
night.
Do you normally do them at night for kind of like atmosphere?
Always, because what happens is it's more about the optics. So when your eyes adjust to the dark, that's when you can start to see more layers that are unseen during the day. If you're doing it during the day, you wouldn't have that opportunity. So if you're holding a seance, do it at night, light a candle, hold hands, and really state your intention, and then just be patient. And what will happen is your eyes will adjust to the darkness. And again, the visualization that you might see with your physical, tangible eyes would be akin to a camera flashing in your eyes and the after image appearing bluish greenish, depending on how that appears for you. And the more you blink, the more sharper it can come into contrast. And it may move closer to you, further away across the room. And that's not your eyes making it up. That is a spirit that you're seeing.
Do they work all the time?
No, not always. It's again like picking up the phone and hoping that somebody will be as communicative with you as you are with them, and that's not always the case. So, and I've seen more action from entities who are trying to get a reaction. So if it's a more softer, peaceful, tranquil environment, they're not going to be knocking on the wall right away. They may start with a change in temperature to let you know that you're there. And again, that's not something everyone can take home with them after and say, "Oh, the temperature changed. It was incredible. I felt a ghost." They're looking for evidence essentially. So again, it's when you have something that's kind of playing off of your energy. If they're more playful in life, they're going to be more playful in death, and they're going to show you that side of themselves.
What if it's an angry spirit?
Well, that can also include some results that, again, nothing's really calculated. This is a lot of it is within a controlled environment. As soon as you break hands, the whole experience stops. And as you heard from Merle, when he had a negative experience and was being used to create a conduit for somebody's own egotistical intentions, as soon as they broke hands, the whole experience stopped. So the ride is over. A lot of horror movies kind of build it up like, oh, if you break hands, that's when a spirit can enter you or something. You're created from source energy. You are as protected as it gets, and that takes a lot more than somebody's traces of ego on the other side to break through that. So if it's a malevolent entity or somebody that is quite negative, they're feeding off of your fear. The more fear that you have, the more power that they're given. So that's why I can say with confidence that I'm of a higher vibration, because I don't get scared easily at all, and I'm very tranquil, and I always provide a sense of curiosity, and I will laugh in the face of darker entities like that because they have no power over me or you.
Well, gentlemen, we got about 30 minutes left with you guys tonight on Ghosts of the Great White North with our main man, Merle, from the Paranormal Road Trippers, and special guest tonight, Chris Bennett, tarot medium reader. We're going to get into tarot cards when we return on Spaced Out Radio. How do you read them? What's the messages we are looking for? We continue with the paranormal right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Merle,
Yes.
how did you like Little Red Merle Vet?
I don't know what that's from. I don't get the reference.
Well,
Red
let's.
Corvette.
Oh, like I get the Corvette, but Dave usually picks like a song or something.
It is a song, ya Momo.
Okay, Rich.
I went with Like a Merlgin.
I got that one.
Okay. Then I went Rock You Like a Merlicane.
I got that one.
Then Prince's Little Red Merle Vet.
I wasn't a Prince fan.
Baby, You're Much Too Fast. Yeah,
Fair.
you are. Now I'm going to come up with something else here. Chris, it's tradition that every time Merle's on, I change his name every half an hour.
Tradish. Yep.
That's pretty good. I like it. I love a good pun. So if I was a little bit more lubed up, I'd shoot you with a few. But at the end of the day,
Truth.
All right.
I love seances. They're and I like do you ever do table tipping or try table
I
tipping?
would love to do table tipping. I have not done it, but I feel like it's something that we should try.
I've done it twice and it's pretty neat.
Well,
Like
it's something
not-
we should fire up. I'm down.
I'm down too. Let's tip it.
I want to
Tip
do
some
one of
tables.
those. I want to do a seance in the barn, Merle.
You know what? I think that would be very interesting to do in the barn or even the post house.
Mm-hmm.
That's Chris, that's the museum Dave does tours out of, like ghost tours, and it's hella haunted.
Amazing. And is that on your property or?
No, it's about 3 miles from my house.
Oh, perfect.
Come on, Merlene.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
There we go. I was strong tonight on the 80s songs game here.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Merle, we did a tour the other night.
Mhm.
I haven't had action like that in probably, well, we missed 3 years because of COVID or 2 years because of COVID.
Was it Old School Ranch?
It was Old School Ranch the other day.
Damn.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Everything was hitting. We got a, see if I can pull this up here. Hold on. Let me just go like this, go like this. And come on, hurry up. And
Come on, Merlene.
It's a good one.
that one turned out well. Where are you? Oh, I hate these Facebook pages.
Yeah, I left Facebook 8 years ago, never looking back.
Just
Oh,
Instagram, eh? TikTok?
Yeah. No, TikTok wasn't it for me either.
No?
Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah, me too. That's the most reach.
Otherwise, I feel like I'm just spreading myself too thin, and I'd like to focus on community. That's one thing that I learned from really building up an Instagram following, I guess. But it's more these awesome people who make it feel like Halloween all year long, and they're from around the world.
100%.
Ooh, there's a good one. Around the World by Daft
the
Punk.
Merle, around the Merle, the
Good
Merle.
one. Kickstart my Merle.
God's
Kickstart my Merle.
Yep. Merladise City.
Oh, it could go on and on.
Yep.
very nice.
Knocking
Very
on
good.
Merle's door.
Very good call on that one.
We are the Merlians.
Merle, what is it good for?
Yeah.
All right, Merle, quickly here.
Mm.
This is going to be tough to see because I got to do this off my phone. Upstairs, somebody accidentally took a photo, but look in the doorway. See that light?
Yeah.
Now, it's a leg. See the shoe?
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah, that happened on
Yeah.
Mark. See the other shoe?
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
Dang. Who was it?
No idea. I think that's the. We've had a couple of weird things. Here's the other weird part of that one. We got to hurry here. Here's the other weird part about that one is whatever that bow tie thing or necktie thing is on the left, we don't know what that is either.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Mary came back full time, man. Even lighting stood right in the middle of the strip lights in a circle.
That's really good to hear. But yeah, because we talked
Hold-
about that. Yeah.
Hold on. Here we go, guys. Hi, Jennifer. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. We very much appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Merle from Ghosts of the Great White North. That's his show where Merle comes in from Vancouver, British Columbia, where he runs the Paranormal Road Trippers. Intuitive Chris Bennett is our special guest tonight. Chris, you're very much into tarot cards. How did this start for you?
Oh, it started when I was a teenager, like any other girl in their basement. Tarot cards are kind of seen as the psychic training wheels, if you will. It's steeped in psychology, and I actually didn't heavily invest into them until I started doing this professionally because it creates a boundary between my own vision and my own perspective and my client. So it also creates a psychological element to what I'm doing. So it's a lot less about speaking with the dead than it is more about confirming what I see in my own mind's eye.
Right on. So take us through. What kind of cards do you use?
Oh, okay, so I'm a classic guy. I don't fuck with the oracle card bullshit. I'm not here for rainbows and
No
sparkles and
swearing,
unicorns.
please. This goes on terrestrial radio.
Those are beeps.
I
Mess
prefer to
around
use
with. Yeah.
I prefer to use classic tarot cards as there's 78 of them, and they each represent an inflection of human psyche. And then in classic religious territory, you have 78 angels and 78 demons, and then also in a perfectly cut diamond, you have 78 inflections, which allows the right amount of light to come in. So you have 78 cards that can be upright and or reversed, and that represents the highs and lows of your own human narrative. And in conjunction to one another, it can really trigger a subconscious response if you are sensitive to it. So it's like going through an art gallery on shuffle with somebody who's quite familiar with the works of arts.
I've always been intrigued with tarot cards. I have a deck. I got my deck when I was 17, actually, 16 or 17, and I still have the same deck. I almost bought a Goodfellas deck when I was in Astoria the other week. But
I
I'm like,
love
no,
that.
yeah, I'll just keep mine. But another question I wanted to ask you was your mediumship. Do you see spirits like how you see us? Is that how does it operate for you?
Absolutely. So during a client session, I'll be sitting there and I'll usually stare off into space. That's again where the cards come in. Is I'll put them on shuffle and I'll just kind of shuffle them as I'm chatting. I don't want to know anything about the person. I don't allow them to ask me any questions, or I'm looking to contact my grandmother or whatever. I don't want to know anything. I need it to be a completely blank slate, because otherwise somebody's ego can pander to your grief, and that's to protect yourself from all the sham wows out there. So I'll be staring into space, and it starts again with neutralizing emotions, and I'll start getting either a sharp image of letter of the alphabet, very crystal clear. I'll start getting images of what they may have done in life, so I'll see through their eyes. Sometimes as easy as doing the dishes at the sink and seeing a ceramic frog and looking out through the window, and I'm like, oh, I can see through their window at this point. I'll see quick flashes of memories that I then have to make sense of. One of the more profound one was more recently. I had a client and I saw an older gentleman and a younger girl sitting on a park bench, and they were looking at people, and he was pointing at all the different kind of clusters of people and taking notes, and he had a doctor's coat on, and I said, oh, your dad's a doctor, and he's not the medical kind, he's showing you people, and he's saying you're going to do something similar to that. And I don't want to know anything until the end. Don't feed the psychics people. So at the end of the session, she said, I was floored at that bit of information because her dad was a professor of sociology, and he passed away. And she was starting to wonder if she should go to school for it.
Wow.
Wow, that's pretty powerful right there.
Not as
So
powerful as the word ShamWow. That was good.
That was
well,
big.
that's
That was big.
I do a lot of psychic fairs, conventions. That's something that I love interacting with people, dead and alive, and I love meeting new people too, and reading for people. I'm so passionate about it, and I had a few people at the psychic fair at the end of the day say, "Oh, can we trade readings?" And sure, absolutely, yeah, why not? And I realized that I'm not. It's not steeped in a lot of throwing stuff at the wall until it sticks. I second guess myself just like anyone else, and that's my ego. But yeah, I had some really bizarre, not good bizarre experiences that I'm like, you're charging people for this? How dare you? Like, that's a shame.
What do you think about that? Because there's a lot of people out there who are taking advantage. I mean, intuitives have a very tough name out there every now and again because there are so many grifters and hoaxers out there saying really bad, intrusive things that are costing a lot of people money.
Tea time.
Oh, it's too bad you don't allow swearing on the show. So I've seen it. I've experienced it, and I every now and then I'll get a reading with someone just to see if I can do something better. And there are people that take full advantage of people either seeking validation, seeking evidence of the other side, and they will throw information until it sticks. And the worst is when they ask you questions. When you enter a psychic space or a dedicated session, and they say, "All right, who are you looking to connect with?" Um, you should be telling me that first and foremost. And I'm not going to press somebody because that can take away from their abilities if they do have it and they're putting it up front. So there's also that element that when I first opened for business professionally, I was getting calls from people asking me to remove a generational hex or a curse, or there's more than just an entity following them. It's bad luck that's been placed by a curse, and I'm like, no, you need a therapist, sweetheart. That's not. So I've actually canceled appointments because of my professional boundaries. And between us, actually, if a mediumship reading does not go well, I do a full refund because I'm not in the. I know my time is valuable, but it's a sacred space that I'm entering with somebody's grief. And it's more than just listening to them, it's being a voice for somebody that they've lost. So it puts a lot of pressure on me, but I feel like that's how I operate well.
Is it common to find people with darker energy or dark stuff attached to them? And if you do you let them know?
I again, I have very, very healthy boundaries, so I will always, in a very typical backhanded compliment kind of way, suggest that they seek help first and foremost,
Mhm.
connect with community because that's all dark entities want us to do. It's not like in Hollywood where, all of a sudden you're getting sick and sicker and they're sucking the life force out of you. In a way they are, but they're trying to create cognitive dissonance and get you away from a sense of community. And from
Mm.
there, they'll Our thoughts do not belong to us, gentlemen. We are Grand Central Station for thoughts coming in and out. We can hold on to them. We can send them out. We're kind of creating a rapid effect with how we put things together. But essentially, what will happen is if you have a darker entity attached to you, they'll start getting you to think that it's within reason to do these things that will create harm, and that can be through alcoholism, drug use, addiction to pornography, cheating on your spouse, whatever it is that can take away from a sense of connection and community.
Fair. Self-sabotage.
Our inner self-saboteurs are the greatest demons known to mankind, and they can be earthbound spirits external to us that are influencing our decisions.
That's
So,
very interesting perspective. You're the first one to say it like that, actually, that I've talked to.
I think that's great. I
Mhm.
think it's absolutely great. Quick question for you, because a lot of paranormal teams use a lot of equipment, they use a lot of different technologies. You use what comes to you intuitively, by feeling, by everything. What do you think of today's paranormal tools that are used out there, whether it's a ghost box or whether it's the bell, like you mentioned earlier, or other things?
I love them. It really shows people. It gives you that excitement, which is what people go into these experiences looking for, and you can also interact with an intangible force, a disembodied voice, if you will, and it gives voice to something or people that are not as sensitive and aren't doing this full time. And it really, first of all, generates that curiosity, that excitement of like, is it me? It's a science experiment. We're doing MythBusters, and those tools are essential for people who need that evidence. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Is there a piece of equipment that you would recommend amateur ghost hunters to go get?
oh, absolutely. So the cat balls, Merle, the what are they're cat toys that light up.
Little
I thought
motion
they were
sensors.
unreal, unreal. So if anyone out there is listening who is looking for an amateur device, it's a little transparent ball, approximately 1 inch by 1 inch, with a blue and red kind of light up element to it. I feel like you can find them on Amazon. And
They're
what you
cheap,
do is
yeah.
you click the button and turns it on, and you place it in areas that may or may not be haunted, or if you're interacting with spirits, and you can ask them. You have to show them how to interact with it, and if they wave their ghostly fingers over it, those balls light up on their own.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
Yeah,
We,
fantastic.
we use those. We have a high amount of success with the cat balls.
I love them.
Oh, yeah. So for people who are wondering what the cat balls are, no, we're not talking testes here. We're talking these little balls that you press a button on them and they light up, and they're for cats to chase around and play with in the house. But after a while, the ball will go dark until you touch it again, physically touch it. And when you're standing in a room and there's nobody around it, and all of a sudden they start going off, it's pretty incredible. That's for sure.
Hmm.
You can
Do
set
you
up
like?
a whole little minefield of them. It's pretty good.
I know. Mine keep getting stolen. I bought 6, and I'm down to 4 now.
Do you have
It's
a
a good
cat?
souvenir.
No, just it's because of the ghost tour I run. People put them in their pockets.
That's what happened. Yeah, at the end of the night, you got to do a pocket search.
Yep.
It's the living you need to worry about there, Dave.
I know. It's like now we have to literally say, hey, at the end of the night, can you turn in the ghost gear? Because we have to buy this all out of our own pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Take the balls out of your pocket. Give them back to me.
Exactly. No stealing my balls. No stealing my balls at all. What do you think of the ghost box? With
I
spirit?
love it. So I actually I used to work in film full time, and I've worked on a number of horror movies and very, very big productions and very haunted locations. So I've actually been at the Overland Manor prior to um, our experience there, and I worked there for almost 2 weeks of my life, like 16-hour shifts, sometimes 6 days a week. Very haunted locations. I've spent probably 6 months of my life in Riverview Hospital.
Hmm.
And I've brought a spirit box there. And I've done night shifts there many, many times. And so I have these international directors who would come to me and say, "Hey, I heard you're the guy who has that spirit box." I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Like, he's like, "Can we go up to that abandoned section?" I'm like, "Absolutely. Let's go down the boiler room first." And it'll just be changing through all the different dead radio waves, all the different static. And as you're asking it questions and entertaining a sense of curiosity, which is the common interest, that's when you'll start to hear either a female voice, a male voice. You can ask it
Wow.
questions. It's fantastic. So I've had that. I drained my phone battery multiple times in the night just listening to voices on Bluetooth earplugs while at work, just listening to who's there and conversations that they were having.
Good old spirit box. Love it.
Yeah, big
I
fan.
don't have much luck with them. I don't have much luck with them. And I don't have much luck with REM pods either.
But you got to be patient and you got to keep being persistent with asking questions. Patience.
Patience is a virtue, Dave.
But when you're on a time limit, you don't have a lot of time to do it.
Fair.
And also explain to the spirits how you'd like them to interact with that piece of equipment. So you do have to say, "I'd like you to wave your hand over this," and show them and say, "It's just like this." And as soon as if you can feel that slight shift in temperature as you're speaking this, that's when you know that there's somebody who is unseen there that is taking note.
Dave, you know what you should try at that ranch is buy one of those EMF candles. Because for the
I do
time,
got those.
sweet. That one should work there very well. No? Nothing?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely gonna try that. I want to test yours out first, see how it works there.
Sure.
So just to touch on the tarot cards again for a sec, because the reason why I was drawn to them, aside from the psychological element, is sometimes if I get a little stuck I do a lot of life readings predominantly. People are always very curious about what the future holds. It's a lot less about the future, but because I've worked so heavily in the continuity of character for film, I can see the trajectory of decisions. And again, when somebody approaches me without having said anything about their situation, my protocol for anyone listening is you have to have 3 questions written down on paper 24 hours prior to meeting with me, and it has to be left face up next to where you sleep. This gives optimal environment for a spirit to communicate with me. And then what I do is I try to answer those questions in order without you answering them through paranormal means. That gives you proof of that ability. So the cards just merely give me somewhere to defocus my eyes on, see patterns, and then entertain a subconscious narrative. And it usually starts with seeing where you'd fit in with your family, how many siblings you might have, something that you may have gone through, and then really profound details really slip through. And I don't have control over it, but it's very fantastic. So
We got about 6.5 minutes before we need to go say goodnight to you guys, and I continue on with hour number 3. Chris, do you have a favorite paranormal story that sticks with you?
I do. So do you want something? You know what? I'll just say this one. So when I first moved to Calgary from Ottawa, which is a jump across Canada for a surly 13-year-old teenager who just is weird, a paranormal weird kid, and still figuring myself out and obsessed with the X-Files, I would get strange phone calls late at night, around 11 o'clock at night. I'm nocturnal, so I'd stay up late, and it would always be this lady who had Alzheimer's and was seeking to speak with her. She's alive, by the way, seeking to speak with her son, and we inherited his old phone number. I got to know her quite well, and eventually had such a rapport with her that she was sharing. She'd remember who I was after about 5 minutes of confusion, and she was very sad. She was in a very dark place. She felt like nobody was visiting her, and that could have been the Alzheimer's. But I'd have to pull her out of it, and talk her off the ledge, and and then she'd start sharing stories with me about that new city that I really hated, and she helped open my eyes to all the adventures that she had when she was there. And one day, I would always read the obituaries, and I opened the newspaper that morning, and I saw her face for the first time, and I knew from her name, but I exactly who I pictured it to be. And so the very first day of school for that year, I went to my first day of school, and then I skipped the afternoon and I went to her funeral, and I was able to share very, very personal stories with her son, who was much older than I imagined. And he's like, "Who? Sorry, what? Who's this kid telling me very intimate details about my life and my mom?" And then that's when I got that paranormal connection. Was I went home and the phone rang at 11 o'clock at night, and there's nobody there but static, and it gets me a little emotional thinking about it. But I got to say goodbye to her outside of the funeral and thank her for opening my eyes to all the adventures of that place. And I still feel her with me, but that's what really opened my eyes to, whoa, the phone rang at the exact time that this Alzheimer's old lady would call at.
Wow.
Yeah, my mom can vouch for that. Because she would always pick up the phone and kind of listen in to make sure it wasn't some crazy, and it's just me.
Man alive.
Mm.
Intended.
Yeah.
Do you ever get scared?
Not really. No, to be honest, I've lived through and I've put myself in so many dangerous situations that I think I can I trust in the unknown to a greater degree than most people, and I have a healthy degree of optimism, which is kind of a guiding light in darker places. And
Mhm.
I'm very neutralizing when it comes to conflicting personalities. So again, it's more the living that you should be afraid of. And if there is a dark situation, I'm the first one to enter it with a sense of curiosity and a protection quality that I think most people carry with them that they forget about, and that's when they become susceptible. So, no, not necessarily afraid of anything.
Is that just in the paranormal, or would that deal in alien or cryptid adventures as well?
Oh, I would love to go on all of those adventures. Wide open to a Bigfoot adventure. I need to see Bigfoot in this lifetime. I've seen him him. I've seen them kind of rattle bushes, and it was definitely not a bear. But I would love to see one face to face. I've read is every story out there ever published about Bigfoot. And as far as aliens, I think again, for those listening, if you really want an alien experience, you really have to say it out loud that that's something that you'd like, and you be careful what you wish for.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. Merle's ran into Bigfoot a couple of times.
I have ran into Bigfoot a couple of times. We ran into him hard about a month ago. Chris, we got chased out of the forest. Is one of the most terrifying things I've experienced.
Wow.
We were investigating, and Dave, how would you explain it?
What, that we were being stalked?
Yeah, whoa, okay, we got a couple footprints. Like we got it all, dude. We got the
Like,
full meal deal.
like when you leave camp and then you come back to camp 20 minutes later, and there's now a 17-inch track 10 feet from your tent.
Yep,
And Merle got gifted a staff.
I did with designs on it. It's bizarre.
What? I need to see that.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible. It's like 8 feet long.
Yep.
Just about 8 feet.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's funny because when we were investigating, it was on and off a torrential downpour on day 3. And this staff or large stick was bone dry. And it was in the middle of a path we were walking on, trampling on for 3 days. We had a cameraman there with a giant camera just trampling. And it was in the middle of the path. Like somebody placed it there.
Leaned it against a tree.
Yeah.
And the other weird part about it was that that staff was exactly the spot where you got chased out in 2018.
100% was.
On that note, gentlemen, we got to say good night to all of you because your portion is over. I get to keep going. Swamp Dweller to kick off hour 3. We're going to talk some UFO talk. You and me, audience, if you're the YouTube channel, I want to know what you think of Lou Elizondo's book and any other UFO
You're listening
question.
to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
There we go, gents. Good job tonight.
Oh, thank you. That was amazing. You guys are fantastic at this.
That was
We
good.
do
I
well.
enjoyed that.
You do
Yeah.
well.
Thanks for coming on, Chris.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And anytime you need a guest. Also, I urge you to reach out to my friend Brough Perkins. He's a renowned psychic medium. He's had many paranormal experiences.
Cool.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll bring him on.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
Merle.
guys.
See ya.
Take care.
Ciao.
Later. Come on, Merlene. All right, guys. I'll take a quick break. And when I get back, I want your questions. All right. Been a good show. Been a good show. Thank you tonight to Necessary Dialogue and Babylon for the super chats. Greatly appreciate the love. Thanks, Tucson MUFON. Appreciate it. You can get all of our Spaced Out Radio swag at our website, spacedoutradio.com. Hi, only right-wing duck fan. All right. Here is the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every mainstream podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Mabel. Mabel is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, it's that time of the night where we head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. I am kind of freaking out, but basically, I have had 2 nightmares, or maybe even premonitions. I don't really want to go into too terribly much detail, but I felt the need to cleanse my room. So I closed my door, not all the way, just kept a crack open and opened my window and started washing my room, saying any negative energies are not welcome and must leave. Then, I think whatever it was gone through my door because my door opened by itself just a smidge. And then tonight, when I tried to sleep, I felt like there was a hand on top of my head. I even felt what felt like fingernails. I have been doing candle spells to manifest protection, love, and light, and I was telling my guides I wanted to be a medium, which definitely was a lousy idea now that I think back on it. Still, I regret saying that I had nightmares before even saying that, and I have had a white candle on top of my mirror tray with a selenite and some rose quartz crystals. I have lavender and salt on there, but I don't know, I feel like I did something wrong, and I'm kind of freaking out. Also, I felt nothing wrong then. When I felt the hand on me, I was just surprised and not expecting it. But a couple of hours later, I got a very bad stomachache, like a bad feeling and nausea. Please tell me how to cleanse my house properly if anybody in the comments knows. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. I've been listening to music and keeping my vibrations high, but my cats also keep running around looking at something I cannot see. Luckily, I haven't heard them hissing or anything, but I don't know if that means terribly much. Also, these dreams started a bit after talking to some guy online. He said he was praying for my good health, but my gut feels like maybe he wasn't. It's just now sickening as I'm finishing this, feeling awful, feeling nauseous. The mirror tray that I got from the dollar store is the worst nightmare that I ever had. For some reason, there's like a druid or something protecting it. But anytime I talk to it, it says it's a demon. So I'm confused, but I don't feel any lousy energy when I'm necessarily next to the mirror, but I don't know. Hopefully this makes sense to somebody. The Stalker by Anonymous. I was 16 years old when this happened. My friends, I'll call them Evan and Jake, and I wanted to rent a hotel room for the night since it was spring break. We got to the hotel and checked in. It had a funky smell, but we would stay there and make do. Once we got to our room, it was sometime around 3 p.m., so we decided to go swimming. The pool was just downstairs, and we departed from the room. Once we got to the entrance, there was a man at least 6'3" in all black and a hood covering his face. He was just standing there facing us. I panicked a little, but not too loud. We got into the pool and swam for a few hours until we saw that man sitting on a chair by the poolside again, in the same garbs. I cleared my throat. Can I help you, sir? I asked. I got no response. I'm still a little paranoid. I put my face in the water, and at the bottom of the pool, I see what I think is another black figure. I screamed like a little girl and ran for the door. I looked back and saw absolutely nothing. Not the guy in the chair or the person under the pool. My friends thought I was just seeing things out of paranoia, but I know I saw what I saw. It was as clear as water. I no longer felt like swimming, so I had dinner at a nearby restaurant. I got a table for my friends and myself to sit at, and there, once again, I saw the man, all in black, all on the other side of the dining room, staring at me. Now, at this point, I have had enough. I went over there and lost track of him, so he must have taken off. After we had been there for some time, I decided this trip had gone too far, and we should leave tomorrow morning. But my friends really weren't a fan of that idea. Once it was 10:30, my friends and I dozed off in the hotel room. I woke up to some strange noises, and I saw a shadow person at the end of my bed. I calmed myself down and told myself it had to just be sleep paralysis. I was just freaking out. I went to bed and woke up again 30 minutes later to more noises. I was getting thirsty, so I reached under my bed and tried to grab my water bottle. And I was caught by something that has shocked me. What I grabbed was a hat. I was never more scared in my life. I couldn't help but scream at the top of my lungs, and I heard a voice say right next to my ear,
"You're dead."
I jumped out of bed and realized there was 2 men in black right there. I tried to fight them, but it was no use once they grabbed me and dragged me out of that room. I tried to scream, but one of them were covering my mouth. I passed out and later woke up on a stretcher. It turned out these guys knifed me while I passed out, and someone caught them. But the doctor said no one could see the guys who got me. I've always had a nightlight at night, so now I'm just extra paranoid and have multiple of them. I'm just glad I survived, but I still don't know what their intentions were. Well, aside from killing me. Horror in the City by The Dwarf G. I should mention that I previously lived in a tiny town but attended high school in a considerably larger city. I never had a reason or the nerve to go out in the city on my own, so when my 2 friends wanted to hang out around town, I was nervous to say the least. However, I thought, what the hell? Why not? I'll be with them. What's the worst that can happen? We had a blast for a couple of hours after school, with some small scary incidents along the way, including walking through a store full of expensive statues and gemstones with a massive backpack protruding from my back. The original restaurant we wanted to go to was closed, forcing us to Subway. However, as it got darker, we all knew we had to get home, so we all enjoyed one last store and went on our separate ways. I waited outside the store, alone, in the dark, unafraid. Yet, I had told my mother where to find me, but she was hopeless with directions, so I had expected to be hanging around for just a while. I noticed a news camera stationed outside the store, which made me feel even safer. But about 10 minutes into the wait, I was approached by 2 men. My memory is fuzzy due to how freaked out I was, but this is what I remember. Hey, do you know where the name of some town that I can't remember is? I shook my head no. I was already nervous because I'm a paranoid person on the best of days, and this was not turning out to be the best of days. Huh, come on, one man coaxed. Listen, we'll give you a bag of jewelry if you help us, the other man said. Now I was genuinely freaking out. I glanced around and noticed the news camera and stepped a little closer to the line of sight of the lens. Listen, I stammered, trying hard not to stammer or show how freaked out I was. I think it's that way and I don't need anything, I said, pointing in a random-ass direction. They glanced in the direction of my finger. They glanced back. Can you show us? Again, we have a big bag of jewelry. I felt as if my heart had leapt into my throat. No, thank you, and my mom is coming to get me any second now. I declined as calmly as possible. They stared at me for a few seconds, then nodded, thanking me and heading off in the direction I pointed at. I kept well inside of the news camera until my mom picked me up. I didn't really relax or anything like that for at least a full week. I have no idea why they were so eager to give me that bag of jewelry. My first thought was that they stole it and wanted to throw the police off their trail by handing some of it off to me. The second was that they were trying to lure me away with the jewelry. Either way, it would have ended poorly for me if that was their goal. No one has ever really believed me about this, but I don't really expect them to. Ever since, I have never really felt comfortable in the city alone, in the dark, even though it's been multiple years now. And I now live in a decently sized city for college.
Thank you to Swamp Dweller for another great set of stories there. If you want more, just head over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller. It'll come right up. Make sure you hit subscribe, ring that bell. Over 300,000 subscribers on that channel tuning in to everything that you do and that he does. Scary indeed. Let's get to the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, I'm taking this one right to the end of the show because Tim James, our UFO report guy, he is ill. He is in bed. Even his wife won't let him out in public right now. So we got to do this on our own tonight. Congratulations to Kelly, Kentucky. Why? Today is the 69th anniversary of the Kentucky Goblins. Now, you may remember, and if you didn't hear the show, you could go back in our archives on YouTube and the podcast to listen to Geraldine Stith, who is part of the Sutton family, because her family was involved in this event. A little bit of a breakdown here. Billy Ray and June Taylor were visiting friends Elmer Lucky Sutton and his wife Vera at the home of Lucky's mother, Glennie Langford. Billy Ray decided that he was going to go outside to the well to grab some fresh water, where he saw something streak across the sky that left a trail like a rainbow. He ran back inside the house, and soon after, the 8 adults and 3 children in the small farmhouse found themselves under siege by 12 to 15 bizarre little floating beings that began looking in the windows of the Langford's home. The entities were said to be about 3.5 feet tall, had huge pointy ears, large glowing eyes, long arms, clawed hands, and what seemed to be like a metallic colored skin that glowed green. The children were made to hide while Billy Ray and Lucky grabbed their guns and went outside to shoot at the diminutive invaders. But the weird thing was, the firearms seemed to have little effect other than every time they shot one, the beings would flip and tumble in the air. Now, eventually, they were able to gather everybody, and they raced out of the house into their vehicles and floored it to the Hopkinsville police station. They returned to the farm with police officers, with the witnesses, many of whom were extremely hysterical with what they were seeing, but there was no trace of evidence of the creatures around. But as in every scary story, once the police left, the little brown beings returned. And remember, there was no 911 back in those days. So when the police left, they left. Yet the siege began again after the little beings returned. This time, it continued until dawn. And then when the sun came up, the creatures seemed to simply leave and vanish, never to be seen in the area again. And this is the story of the Kelly Hopkinsville goblins. I think it's weird that these creatures terrorized these people, but were they really terrorizing them? I've wondered about that over the time, because if they were really there to harm them, they could have easily got in the house. To me, it's almost seemed like they were curious. Now, I understand the human fear of it all. How can you not? I mean, when you see these glowing green creatures with big yellow eyes and pointy ears and claws for hands staring at you out inside your window, or from outside your window inside, pardon me, that is going to be absolutely petrifying. I could see why people were screaming and yelling and the ladies were crying. It will send you off an emotional roller coaster. I get that. But I love these memories. The thing that weirds me out about it all is that you never hear these stories like this happening today. They just don't seem to happen. Sure, we have people being abducted. Sure, we have people being taken. But there's no extreme cases anymore. Have you noticed that? And trust me, we are scouring the internet looking for somebody who is having an encounter just like this one. And the other weird thing is they never returned. It was like a one and done. They were flying on by. They saw this weird little house, said, hey, let's just pull over here and see what's going on. What do these human things look like? What are they doing? What's going on here? So they went for a look. Their curiosity got them. The interesting part is you couldn't kill them. They got shot at. Some of them were hit. And they just spun off those bullets, probably shotgun, BBs. And they just kind of spun around. Now, when I look at it all, I don't think they were harmful. I think they were just curious, like I said. But I understand the fear. And the weird thing is, why did they disappear when the police came? What scared them about the police? Was it the sirens? Did they have the sirens going on? Maybe the lights on top of the car? Because remember, they had those big round lights back then. Was that what scared them off? I don't know. I have so many more questions about this story than answers. It's just weird. But I would love for something like this to happen again. Maybe not to me, because that's one of those stories where it's like, you got to invite him in for coffee. I don't know if I would. But they never entered the house. Didn't seem like they really tried to get into the house. They just wanted to see what was going on. They were probably just as freaked out that they scared the humans as the humans were scared of them. Maybe. I don't know. But we don't get those kind of stories anymore. And that's one thing the internet has ruined. And social media has ruined. Is we don't get these legendary reports anymore. We don't get the Betty and Barney Hills. We don't get the Travis Waltons or the Calvin Parkers. Those stories are long gone. What the benefit of the UFO story is with social media is now we have a lot more people who are actually coming out and being brave about their stories. Whether it's fighter pilots in the United States military, whether it's commercial pilots, or whether it's everyday people like you and me. People are more brave to talk about this subject, and that is a good thing. It's a very good thing. But what we don't have are those legendary stories anymore. Even in the Bigfoot world, we don't get those anymore. And to me, that's kind of sad, because it's all of those legends and stories that really, really brought the majority of us to love these subjects. The fact that there was a possibility that this could happen to us, that was what brought us in. That's what kept us tuned in to Long John Neville or Art Bell back in the day. Those are the stories that we absolutely adore. And I'm just waiting to see where the new stories are coming from. I want more, but we're not going to get it. But the good part now is, with all of the evidence and more people every day starting to look for these cryptid, alien, ghostly type creatures, hopefully we'll get more footage and more understanding of what we are trying to find. Hopefully we'll get another Patterson-Gimlin type film. Hopefully we will be able to catch on camera just once an actual alien abduction. I mean, with all of the vehicles these days having dash cams, one day there just might be that video of somebody driving down the highway, the lonesome Route 66, and all of a sudden they see these lights, which looks like a police stop on the middle of the highway. And by the time the vehicle pulls up with the camera, they realize that it's not, and that it's a UFO on the ground, and there are beings walking all around it. Maybe that will happen. Maybe we'll get that footage that isn't AI generated. Maybe we'll be lucky enough to score that one. I doubt it, but you never know. Can't control what the aliens want to do. But yeah, 69 years since the Hopkinsville, I always have trouble saying that, Hopkinsville goblins. 69 years. You know, and you think about all of the dates, like Roswell, back in 47, that's 70 plus years. Travis Walton's incident in 75 is coming up 50 years. Man, time flies. Especially when you're having aliens. Time flies when the aliens are around. That is for sure. How would you react to that? All of a sudden you look at your window and there's an alien standing there staring back at you. Would you chase it? Would you go hide in your house, praying that it would disappear? Had it once with the alien I named Carl, and I screamed like a banshee when it happened, seeing that big-headed gray on the other side of my window. It's not fun when that happens. When we return for the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight, I'm going to open up the questions to our audience members on YouTube and Twitch. And we're going to talk about Lou Elizondo's book. I'm almost 5 chapters in, and I'm very intrigued by what I'm reading so far. He's got me captivated. We'll be right back on Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
I am not familiar with Jerry Wills. All right, I need a lot of questions from you guys this last half hour to make it work. I'm already having to edit the show. Greetings, Forrest Louis. Let me see if I got him on Facebook. Hold on. I'll add him right now. There, I just added him on Facebook. Hopefully he'll add me back. This guy looks like he's got some major woo. For an alien, he's pretty political. We'll see if we can get him on. Please make sure your questions are in capital letters. Oh, almost hit the wrong button there. Ask anything about Elizondo and his book. That's what I'm looking for. Elizondo, even if it's a comment, put it in capital letters. I want to get your opinions on this, guys. Good start. Aharon. 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 Is that it? Aharon. Thank you to Necessary Dialogue and Babylon for the super chats. Greatly appreciate them tonight. And here we go, everybody. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are so glad to have you with us because I love talking the weird and strange with each and every one of you. I hope you enjoy it too. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right. After last night's show, I went and bought the audiobook of Imminent, Lou Elizondo's new book, because my hard copy is not going to be here for about another week or two. And I couldn't get behind the 8 ball on this any further than I already am. And I'm getting a little sick and tired of people showing off their copies that they've got already, and I got to wait another 2 weeks. Oh, Amazon, you're cruel to me. So cruel. But that's what happens when you live in the middle of nowhere. Probably can't find the darn place. But it is what it is. The book will arrive, but thank God for the audiobook. I got to tell you this. Lou's voice in reading it, because he actually did the voiceover work for it, was pretty good. Now, the one thing that I have learned being about 4 chapters in is this. We are not going to get disclosure out of this book. And I didn't expect that at all. For those of you who are expecting it, I think that you guys had a lot of hopeful optimism. Now, I'm not slamming the book. I'm not slamming it at all. I'm actually enjoying it. And I know there are critics out there, whether it's Mick West, whether it's Michael Huntington, whether it's Stephen Greenstreet, and many others who are absolutely ripping this book apart word by word. But this is Lou's story. We can only hope that it's truthful. I think it is. I did hear back from the publishing company earlier today, and they have said this. We don't have word from his team just yet. When we do, we will be sure to let you know. Hope to have it in the next week or so. That's from Julie Pulaski, who's with HarperCollins, the publishing company. So I might send Lou a little text message saying, hey, bud, can we bump up the order there, please? Bought your book, bought the audio book. Love to chat with you about this. Yeah, so our fans would dig it. So hopefully we'll get him on the air with us soon. Just a matter of coming to a date that we can agree on. But I did want to talk about this because there's a lot of people absolutely ripping the book. Okay, there's a lot of people saying he didn't give names, he didn't give proof, he didn't drop anything that we don't already know. It's an autobiography. It's an autobiography that literally tells us about him and his life in a very intimate setting. Talks about his parents, about how he met his wife, his children, okay, where he was stationed, how he got into the ATIP program. I can't go any further than that because I haven't been able to listen to any more than that. Dave runs a tight schedule. I listen when I listen. I'm glad I got almost 5 chapters in right now. But so far, I'm happy with it. Okay, I'm taking it for what it is. A lot of people will sit there and say, well, there is no proof. There is, you're being easy on him. I haven't read the whole thing. I don't know. I'm waiting. It'll come here. I'll have it done by the weekend. Or by the end of the weekend, pardon me. But it's an autobiography of his story. And I think there was this misconception that Lou was going to come out guns blazing, dropping names, dropping aliens, dropping everything. And people are disappointed in that. Look, Elizondo doesn't have permission to do that. He considers himself a patriot to the United States of America, and he is willing to keep his NDAs. He doesn't want to go to jail. He doesn't want to ruin his job. He doesn't want to ruin his retirement fund or that of his families. He doesn't want any of that. I think it's great that he opened up. That he opened up to the fact of, I'm at the point where he was getting into how he got trained for the remote viewing, and it was through Hal Puthoff, and how he talks about working with Jacques Vallée. He talks about working with Russell Targ and Joe McMoneagle on his remote viewing and his research and getting into the UFO scene. He was a non-believer. Didn't believe in any of this stuff until he was asked to join. So, for those who are carving Elizondo for not getting it to the point just yet, give your head a shake. And I'm not saying that to defend Elizondo or to defend the book. It's an autobiography. I think everybody should buy it. To me, so far, I'm getting clarity and to get to know the guy a little bit more. Now, when I get my hard copy, that's where I'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb, with a highlighter, and actually make notes for it. But in just listening to it, so far I'm happy. I'm very happy with it. I'm getting what I felt the book was going to be about. Because I knew he wasn't going to drop any alien info. There's a little bit apparently coming up. I haven't got there yet. But we're getting there. Let's go to some audience questions here. Aharon is asking, has your opinion of Lou the man changed, if at all? No, it hasn't. But I will say this. It's nice to see him act like a human being. It's nice to see him open up and allow not only the UFO community, but other communities as well in getting to know him before he gets into the juice of UFOs and of non-human intelligence. A lot of this stuff privately I already knew, but I'm very impressed with him so far, that he's able to talk as a human. Because so many interviews he has done prior to this, when he was really on the circuit from 2021 through 2022, he was very robotic. He analyzed every question while you asked it, every word of that question. He's a spook. He's counterterrorism. That's what he's supposed to do. So I think it's nice to see him open up and talk about his parents, how his mom posed in Playboy. Yeah, that was new. Mom posed in Playboy. Dad was a Cuban anti-terrorism freedom fighter before coming to the United States. So there is some nice nuggets in there where we learn about what he was like. We learn that I didn't know this, he's an only child. Tucson Mufon, have you read all of his book? No, I have not yet. Like I said, I'm up to chapter 5. Necessary Dialogues asking, what is truly new? I haven't got that far yet. I would like to. Give me some time. But for what I've read so far, it's the build-up. There's always going up the hill towards the plateau. We're at that bend part where we start to climb. That's where I am in the book right now. Simon is asking, how much book money, do you think he'd call a successful launch? Oh, goodness. I don't even know. Probably Elizondo signed a contract with upfront money. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was, and I'm ballparking, I have no information on the inside of this whatsoever. But I think that it was at minimum $200,000-$300,000, maximum probably $1 million, $2 million, maybe $3 million. Because this book is selling like hotcakes right now. And it's probably going to shoot up into the top 10 books to get bestsellers very, very quickly. Archon jackpot. Couple in the forest reported seeing an owl turn into a pale crawler. Any other sightings like that of shifting you know of? A little off topic. I've heard of owls turning into gray aliens. There's a number of stories of that, especially up in Alaska. So you might want to check that out. Let's try and keep the questions to Elizondo here. Let's go to S for Matt. Does Elizondo come out with new revelations in his book? I haven't made it that far yet. I can only tell you about what I've read. And the part that I'm reading, or that I'm listening to, I should say. Gosh, it's hard to say reading. Can you call an audiobook reading or listening to the book? I think it's listening to the book. It's where he was getting asked to join the program and having conversations with Jay Stratton about it. But I don't understand the harsh critics of it all. Like, I'll read you one. Let me just bring it up. Where is it here? I'll read one critique here. Elizondo's memoir attempts to paint a portrait of his formative experiences, highlighting themes of insecurity, masculinity, and a longing for acceptance. Because he was bullied. He talks a lot about where he was bullied growing up. Wouldn't mess with him now. Dude's a killer. However, the narrative lacks depth and introspection, glossing over pivotal moments that could have enriched the reader's understanding of his character. Instead, Elizondo's portrayal of himself as a central figure in Pentagon intrigue and UFO revelations comes across as boastful and detached from reality. I don't agree with that. From what I've read so far, I don't agree with it. As the story progresses through Elizondo's controversial Pentagon tenure and subsequent involvement in UFO disclosures, it spirals into a web of fantastical assertions and insider conspiracies. The narrative's reliance on familiar UFO personalities and Elizondo's uncritical acceptance of their beliefs cast doubt on the credibility of his accounts. I disagree with this wholeheartedly. These aren't a cast of characters. These are people, whether you love them or hate them, who've been lined up throughout the years studying this. Whether it's Hal Puthoff, whether it's Jim Semivan, Robert Bigelow, Harry Reid, the late senator of Nevada, who seemed to be the funder of all these projects with government money, and many others. If it's not them, who is it? This is where, I get a little bit defensive on it because it's not critical thinking. Okay? And Elizondo can only go by his story. He can't tell someone else's story. So to say that he was uncritical acceptance, he tells you prior to this, he did not believe in UFOs. He thought it was a bunch of malarkey. Yet here we are. I'll read on. The book culminates in a misguided attempt to position Elizondo as a pivotal figure in legislative efforts concerning UFO phenomena, further straining credibility or credulity. I disagree with that as well. He is a major player. He's been working diligently behind the scenes for the last couple of years, talking to politicians, briefing presidents. He does go on to mention that he did brief President Trump. Chris Mellon vouches for him because Mellon was right by his side. So there is proof of that. Maybe no written proof, but what is proof today? Nobody believes anything. Despite purportedly addressing cosmic threats and government cover-ups, the tone of Imminent remains oddly lighthearted and informal, undercutting the gravity of its subject matter. Well, of course it does. That's the obvious. It does that because this book has been highly, highly edited by members of the alphabet agencies. Elizondo goes on to talk about how he worked with the CIA. He worked with the NRO, the NSA, the FBI, and every other alphabet agency on this topic. Didn't work for them, worked with them. So they're all going to have their opinions and their own people who are going to edit what he can and cannot say. That's his NDA. He has to abide by those. Moving on. Elizondo's narrative fails to evoke a sense of urgency or authenticity, opting instead for a conversational style that diminishes the significance of the events described. Well, because when you make it a conversational style, people read it. It's a very fine balancing act, because if you try and say too many big words, people like me, who are more blue collar, don't understand those words. So when you make it conversational, it makes for an easier, more effective read. In conclusion, Imminent falls short of its promise. Elizondo's narrative lacks the immediacy and weight, meandering through rehashed UFO tales and speculative digressions without establishing a compelling narrative. That's all he has is his stories. That's why he wrote an autobiography. The UFO tales that many people are calling these, whether it's the Tic Tac, Gimbal, Polaris, whatever it may be, Go Fast, those were when he was on watch. Those happened when he was on watch. So those have been the ones that have been released to the public. He can obviously talk about those. I don't mind critiquing and criticism. I don't mind it at all. But you have to be able to see the other side. And in this case, it's pretty obvious without even defending Lou. He doesn't need defending. But you got to be critical. The book's hasty production and editing oversights further detract from its credibility, leaving readers questioning the veracity of its contents. Can't comment on that one. I haven't read the whole thing. Ultimately, Imminent stands as a missed opportunity to deliver a thought-provoking exploration of UFO phenomena and government secrecy. Of course it does, because it's an autobiography. It's not an in-depth researched book. This is Elizondo's story. It's amazing how many people don't get that. And I'll leave it at that. Your thoughts on that? Let me know. So we got about 2 minutes to go here. Tony has a question. Good morning, Tony in the UK. He says, I haven't received my edition of Imminent yet and was wondering if his book will purge the disclosure ball forward. No, I don't think it will at all. And I've been telling people that forever. The UFO community behind the scenes had been discussing that as well. It's not going to move the ball forward. It can't. He doesn't have permission. He would need permission to do that. If he doesn't have permission, he's not going to be able to do it. Once again, it's an autobiography. I haven't got to his opinion on 9/11. I'm not sure if it's in the book. I will check that. Tucson is asking, do you think Lou is a part of a disinformation on ETs? No, but I do believe he is a person on a message of a threat narrative. And the threat narrative is something I've never agreed with, but that's the one he has planted his flagpole on. So as I continue on here, as time is winding down, I think this would be a good book for your collection. I'm looking forward to reading more. I'm excited to read more. And just don't listen to the critics. Make up your decision on your own. But remember, it's an autobiography. It is not a book about aliens. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking it in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Why did I lose? Testing 1, 2. Why did I lose sound there? Testing 1, 2. What the frick? Didn't freeze that time, but where's my sound? Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, for God's sakes. That's all I need is another freaking technical issue. Testing 1, 2, and there it is. You prick and a half. I'll get to a few of your questions here in a second. Oh, I love causing myself work for no reason. You're awesome, Dave. 2 things I hate: people swearing on the air and tech issues that I have no control over. You want to talk about stress? That is stress. Let's see where it blanked out. Simon, can we expect one from Tom DeLong, who's next with good old print? Tom's been writing books for a while. So, Archon, you mean his dad may have been one of the anti-Castro rebels trained by Lee Harvey Oswald's group at the training camp run by Bush Sr.? I don't know. I'm not that deep into conspiracy theories, and I'm way too Canadian to answer that. Doubleday, do you think they'll make the book a movie? Anna Paulina Luna could play the mother. Yeah, I love Anna Paulina Luna. Simon, do you think all the agencies had a redactive edit or one boss at the top? Who do you think that boss would be? I think Susan Goff probably played a role in that, but we will see. I'm listening to the audio side, Moody Mogul or Mongol. I don't know what the worst spelling error in the book is yet. I'll find it though. Never seen the movie to even see. Tomorrow night on the show, we talk some Bigfoot. Where did it cut out? Okay, that's the break.
Dave Scott.
Our website, Spaced Out Radio, since the Hopkinsville
equipment. So you do have to say she helped.
Hey, right next to my.
with all of the vehicles each. And weird. Okay. Lovely. So let's steal the back end of a show here. Let's do one. Delete that. All right. Just steal this back end here. This show. Download this. And at 9:41, let's go here. Where'd they go? There they are. All right. Let's go here. I gotta wait a second. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. All right, let's go like this. Put that there. Move that there. Any other questions? Multi-panels are very difficult to do on radio because if you don't have the right people, they overtalk everybody. And most people are so used to a podcast format that it's very difficult. Very difficult to do. You can say hi, Jack. You can say hi, Jack. Let's go here. This will be SOR6. Why is that showing up? Okay. I'll cancel that. Let's just go like this. Copy, paste. I just don't understand how a lot of these critics that are out there on Elizondo's book cannot for the life of them understand that it's an autobiography. SOR6. And then we'll go like this. Copy that. I mean, it's just not that hard. Will we be getting any found footage from your exploits? We're working on that, Moody Mongol. And part of that problem is completely my fault. And let me tell you why. I have just been working so much, and under this new ownership that I'm under, it's a lot more stressful than it was working under my buddy. And I'm just so mentally exhausted by everything right now that I have not excuse me. I have not had time to dig into what I need to do. So I know Sam and Merle are waiting on me on that, but they also really understand that my job went from literally no stress to wound up tighter than the tightest knot on your fishing pole line. I mean, that's literally what it's done. So we'll get there when we get there. It's probably the same people who approved his book that are behind the discrediting. No, he has a bunch of critics out there, and somebody in his position is going to have those. You know, they really are. And that's fine. They're allowed their opinion. Like I said, I'm reserving my deliberation on it until I finish the book. All right. It's weird how that guest all of a sudden just started wanting to cuss. Okay, 941. He calls the guy an asshole. So that's 30, 35, 45, 43, 41. Should be around here.
Black and white.
So weird. Such a weird addiction you have.
I also got some,
walk into a place, right?
I can spot the asshole a mile away, and I can also spot the
haunted objects. Like, do they resonate quickly with you?
I can spot the asshole a mile. Spot the ass a mile away, and I can spot the ass a mile away, and I can also spot the gifted people as well. So both living and dead. If I were to walk in.
One. The other two are on the final half hour. Terrestrial radio, you can say ass, but you can't say asshole. A long form live stream, perhaps over a weekend, of David Merle versus Bigfoot. That's an internet breaker right there. Leave the camera on. I would love to, man. I would totally love to, Moody Mongol. But the problem that we have is our spot that we have, there is no signal. Now, if I were to get one of those portable Starlink systems, that would be different. I wonder how much those cost. How much? Portable, take the internet with you. No. High speed, low latency, internet on the go. It includes router, low power consumption, DC power. I don't know if we could stream with that. Like you'd be able to surf the net or whatever, but I don't know if you'd be able to stream with that. Starlink Roam is here, but is it worth it? Holy cow. That's expensive. I'd have to test that out because there are plans that are like anywhere from 200 to 5,000 a month. Wow. It's huge. Huge, I tell you. Huge. All right. Edit that. Cut that out. Okay, these two are kind of back to back. 1037. So they should be right close here.
What I'm doing. So it's a lot less about speaking with the dead than it is more about confirming what I see in my own mind's eye.
Right on. So take us through. What kind of cards do you use?
Oh, okay, so I'm a classic guy. I don't fuck with the oracle card bullshit. Okay, so I'm a classic mind's eye. I don't fuck with the I don't fuck with the oracle card bullshit. I'm not here for rainbows
No
and
swearing,
sparkles and
please.
unicorns.
This goes on terrestrial radio.
I don't fuck with the Those
are beeps. Those are beeps.
I prefer to
around
use.
with. Yeah.
I prefer to use classic tarot cards as there's 78 of them,
right
and they each represent an inflection of human psyche. And then in classic,
oh, that's wrong. Oh, shoot. Hate when I do that. What's there? Let's put that back here now for a quick second. There we go. Number 5. So it's right in here where my audio started going bad. Tim James, our UFO reports, and 66. And all of a sudden they see these lights, which looks like a police stop. There. Close that out. Copy. Paste. Give me 2 seconds, guys. All right. Don't save. Close that out. And let's go like this. Come on. I have 2 SR6s. Save it twice. That's right, I did. 1, 4, 2, 5. There we go. Convert. All right. Let's go here. Tomorrow night, our good friend James, aka J Truth Seeker, is going to come tell us about his Bigfoot stories. It'll be fun. Thank you, everybody, and to Necessary Dialogue in Babylon for the super chats. Greatly appreciate it. I'm going to book on out of here. I'm pretty tired, and I got to get this editing done. So we will talk to you all tomorrow night, my friends. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like. Show us the love. We'll see you tomorrow.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.